sludge to get to before this amazing card really kicks off on the prelims. But this is a decent fight. I've got Alessandro Costa here. I think he's going to beat Cody Durden with body shots. I'm going for a crafty body shot TKO pick up against the cage, the classic. But Alessandro Costa, I believe, has 2 finishes in a row by body shots. And Cody Durden is weak to the body. We've seen him hurt to the body on a few occasions before. He's a big underdog here. I don't think he should be that big of an underdog. I think Alessandro Costa should be a slight favorite. He's not the best. And Cody Durden, to be honest with you, it makes me more confident in Alessandro Costa that he's not the best to beat Cody Durden, because whenever I think that surely Durden is going to be destroyed, he ends up having a great performance. He's coming off a win over Jafel Filho, but he's not all that on the feet, Jafel Filho. He's not really a danger. You're not going to get KO'd by him. He's a grappler. And Cody Durden was able to out-positionally grapple him over 3 rounds and get to better positions and win himself a pretty competitive decision against him. When it comes to guys like Alessandro Costa even, he's able to sting Cody Durden up on the feet, and he's not the best of strikers. Alessandro Costa, very hard to grapple against, a small ball of muscle for the flyweight division. He's a short, stocky fighter for the division, very powerful, sometimes takes a while to get going, so that could be a problem for him if Durden grapples heavy early and is able to drag him into a bit of a grueling fight. But I believe Alessandro Costa is going to be able to get this one done by TKO over Cody Durden in the first or second round. I'm going to say second round body shot TKO by Alessandro Costa over Cody Durden. We move on. Ryan Gandra versus Zachary Reese. Again, some sludge, but I'm going to go Ryan Gandra. Zachary Reese has the build.
It is time!
Real American Freestyle is changing the game, and Fox Nation is its home. RAF is set to deliver its biggest month yet. First, it's America versus the world at RAF Georgia.
That was unbelievable!
Then, the flagship event turns it up to 11. And the new series, RAF Next Gen. One massive month of action. Real American Freestyle this July exclusively on Fox Nation.
And physique that should work in combat sports. But he has the coordination of an Indian guy. Like, it really is like an absolute clash when you see him. I worry about his chin a ton. He's a tall dude, great shape. There's a picture of him next to Anthony Hernandez and Sean Strickland in the gym. And if you had to tell me, and I knew nothing about the sport, who's the world champion on the screen right now, I'd say it's Zachary Reese. He's shredded. He's massive compared to the other two. Hernandez and Strickland are out of camp, obviously, but you'd think he's really good. He's rangy, but he just doesn't fight well. He just doesn't seem to be able to fight well. He could beat Ryan Gandra. Ryan Gandra is completely unproven, lost a couple of fights ago, but he's a really devastating first round KO artist. And Zachary Reese couldn't beat Jose Medina by KO. He made me think Jose Medina was tough, a tough member of the Chicanos. That's what I started considering Jose Medina as. That made me think, oh, Ateba Gutierrez KO'd him. Well, you know, it's Ateba Gutierrez. At least Medina's not Superman. He can't take that much punishment. Ryan Gandra dispatched Medina very easily as well. Medina's basically their resident slobby, flabby, a Chicano member that they bring in to get KO'd. And you can make a career out of that in the UFC for at least about 5 fights if you're really good at getting slammed out. I'm going to take the power difference here for Ryan Gandra. Zachary Reese had a completely gassed out Mikel Pereira in front of him. And I know Pereira had a decent performance against Sharon Magomedov where he dropped him just recently, but I don't think Shara's all that either. I'm going to go with Ryan Gandra. Zachary Reese is hittable. His chin's there to be smacked. He's got a tiny head. He's got a long neck. It's not a build that you need to take punishment with. I'm going to go with Ryan Gandra getting this one done by KO in the first round. He's a slight favorite. I'm going to trust in Gandra's momentum, his knockout ability. But if we do get into the later rounds and Zachary Reese maybe grapples with him a bit, it could get interesting, but I just don't see it. I don't see the greatness from Zachary Reese, to be honest with you. I'm going to go with Ryan Gandra. KO in the first round. Farid Basharat versus John Garza. John Garza Farid Basharat versus John Garza. John Garza is an underdog. He just stepped in. That's probably why this isn't working. It's only $1 billion company. John Garza just stepped in on short notice, 6 days notice to fight Farid Basharat. He's a 6-1 prospect, I believe. Farid Basharat is coming off some decent wins, but they're not. He's got wins against good opponents that are pretty formidable, like Damon Black, not formidable, but Damon Blackshear and some other crafty wins against those guys that float reasonably high outside the rankings, but not the best outside the rankings. But he seems to do it, even against Matsumoto, in a very unimpressive way. Like every single time I watch Farid Basharat fight, I think to myself, well, yeah, he won that one, but he's going to lose the next one. Then I pick him to win the next one, because he is good, and then he wins it, and you think, well, he's not making it past that level, though. But they're all the same level of guy that he's taken on, you know? They're all the same level of somewhat mid, outside the ranking opponent that Farid Basharat is going up against, and he just scrapes by barely against them. John Garza is an upcoming prospect. He's pretty well-rounded. He seems to know what he's doing in the grappling-ish. I don't know if he's got the MMA grappling level of Farid Basharat or the experience in the MMA grappling that Farid Basharat has, but I'm going to go against John Garza. He's got a couple KOs on the regional scene against absolute bums. Saw him get hit quite a lot by some of these bums, but chin them. He's got some good finishes. No contender series fight. No real experience. Fucking, yeah, man. I'm going to go against John Garza here. I don't see why he's a big favorite. I don't know if you can see it, but he's a minus. He's not a big favorite, but I don't know why he's a favorite in general. Just overall, I don't understand why that's the case. So I'm going to pick against him, and I'm going to go for Farid Basharat getting this one done by a competitive decision where he wins the final 2 rounds. Maybe Garza gives him problems in the first, but I don't know if Garza's ready for this jump up yet. And it's on 6 days notice, so it's not the best conditions for him to make his debut in. We move on. Damian Pinas versus Cesar Almeida. I'm going to go with Pinas. Pinas is explosive. Pinas is just big for the division that he's in. Pinas is, just vascular, dangerous. He'll unload shots all over Cesar Almeida's body. I think Pinas is going to land shots all over Cesar Almeida's chin in this fight. Watch your eyes against this guy. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm going to go with Damian Pinas here. I'm going to go with Damian Pinas by KO. He had a nasty finish against Schultz, Wes Schultz, in his last fight, who is basically a victim out there. And now they've given him Cesar Almeida, which is a reasonable step up in competition. Cesar Almeida's not awful. He looked decent against Cezary Oleksiejczuk, who was a decent prospect at the time, and he kind of made Cezary Oleksiejczuk grapple fest to a decision that was really, really boring and got stood up a couple of times from my memory because Cezary wasn't doing all that much on top. But, Cesar Almeida is a good kickboxer. He's a great kickboxer. He trained a lot with Alex Pereira. So to be honest with you, he could get this one done against Damian Pinas, who is a minus 210 favorite here. So I think the odds should be a little bit closer because we don't really know how good Pinas is. He's beaten some schmucks, some people that are out there to get KO'd by him. And then he goes and gets a KO. I can see this being a bit of... Almeida is chinnable, though. He is chinnable. He's there to be hit. But to be honest with you, I don't see a KO here early. A lot of people are probably going to go with Pinas by early KO. I think he'll be tested, but I think he'll pass in a bit of a Gutier Pulyaev type of fashion by a competitive decision where he drops Almeida, but Almeida survives and it gets dragged out. Almeida's pretty hard to just chin in the first round, but you can be aggressive and athletic and have success against him. We saw that with Abdul Razak Al Hassan, but Abdul Razak Al Hassan is retarded. So he just eventually threw punches until he got chinned himself with no defense whatsoever. So I guess we'll see the composure and the control of Damian Pinas here against Cesar Almeida. I'm going to go with Damian Pinas getting this one done. I'll say decision. I'll weirdly say decision here. Yeah. We move on. Tracy Cortez versus Wang Kong. They've put Damian Pinas and Wang Kong next to each other. Kong Wang and Damian Pinas back to back on one of the biggest events of the year. Don't think we don't know what you're doing, UFC. All right? We know what this is. You're trying to have the commentary chuckle a little bit. You know what I mean? Trying to get the commentary giggling. The big three on commentary just chuckling away. Some of the names. Wang Kong, right after Pinas. I'm going with Wang Kong. I think she's going to beat Tracy Cortez. Tracy Cortez a hoe, bro. No, I'm joking. No, that's not why I'm picking against her. You know what? I don't know why I just said that. So I don't know if that's valid for a prediction reason. But I don't sense the same commitment to the game. There's no one more committed to women's MMA than an ugly. No, I'm not going to say ugly, but Cortez has got other options. This is everything to Wang Kong. She was named Wang Kong. She's got to be good at fighting. You know what I mean? Like, she needs something. Some level of success is needed for her. Okay? So I'm going to go with Wang Kong here. She lost to Gabriela Fernandez. She got head kicked out of nowhere and then submitted afterwards. But other than that, she's shown real improvements in her grappling defense, and her grappling defense overall is pretty good. And her striking is just way better than Tracy Cortez's. Cortez is actually better than people give her credit for. They act like she's just known because she's hot, but she is pretty decent. She beat Jasmine Jasdavicius, who's a decent women's MMA fighter. So yeah, she's gone 5 rounds with some decent women's MMA fighters. She's taken some close decisions. She went to a competitive decision against Barber. She went to a competitive decision against, I think she beat Viviana Araujo in a competitive decision, and she lost to Rose Namajunas in a 5-round decision and got her eyelashes. She has fake eyelashes on in the cage as she fights. Wang Kong ain't here for that, dude. She's got a K-pop male hairstyle, and she's here for fucking punishment, dude. Okay? Jinsu Sun. You know, she's ready to play for fucking Tottenham right now. All right? Just out there, ready to go. I'm going with Wang Kong to get this one done by TKO finish. Wang is going to finish all over Tracy Cortez's chin. Not for the first time. But for the 100th time, a Wang will finish on Tracy Cortez's chin by unloading shots onto her face. We move on. From that minefield. Luke Riley versus Kai Kamaka III. Third of his name. Of course, the great Kamaka family that we all know about. Egotistical. He's going down in 2. All right, Luke Riley's going to find the finish. I believe in Luke Riley, dude. I wasn't too impressed by his last performance, but his debut was good. But then again, dude, we've had a shaky start. We've had a shaky start to our UFC career. The last one was a decision. Can't remember the fucking guy's name. I literally just saw it. But it's one of those NPCs at featherweight that's pretty decent, but not all that good. But he took Riley to a competitive decision, but I thought Riley won it pretty clearly by unanimous decision. And then in his debut, he fought Bogdan Grad, who grappled him early and did pretty well with it, but then got slept immediately as soon as he got space on the feet, and Riley put him away. I think it's going to take a bit of Riley getting comfortable because he looked so good in his last few regional fights before he got to the UFC. But even in his earlier regional fights, he looked like he was getting comfy, and he had some problems here and there. But as the competition rose and he got more comfortable, he had better performances. So I'm trusting that that will be the career path for him here, because Kai Kamaka's no joke. He's no joke of an opponent, okay? He's fought Brendan Loughnane. He's been all over the place in the regional scene. He was in the UFC before. He won a pretty close fight in his last one against Gold something Gold or something, I think his name was. But he was a pretty decent prospect at the time. And Kamaka had a pretty close fight with him and ended up getting the job done. Some people seem to think he was robbed in that fight. But Kamaka's pretty good. He's well-rounded. He's not amazing in any given area. I think he's going to get done up on the feet a little bit here. I think Riley's got a massive boxing advantage over him. So I am going to go for Riley. But fighting Hawaiian on the same card as Holloway, I guess that's why they've done this, to see if they can sort of add some of that to the hype. He fought Dakota Hope, nothing to do with Gold, and Michael Lima as well before that in Tough Enough. He's been around the regional scene, and he's been fighting good opponents, but he did lose to a former McGregor opponent that a lot of people haven't heard the name of in a long time, Diego Brandao. But what people don't know is Diego Brandao, upon leaving the UFC, randomly, after some up and down performances, started destroying decent competition on the regional scene. Laid out a couple of guys with brutal KOs, got a split decision over Kai Kamaka. I think at this point, Riley would just sleep a Diego. If they brought in a Diego Brandao, Diego Brandao, after all of his years, if they brought him in to like fight Riley in a Cage Warriors main event, that's a Riley first round KO in my opinion. So I'm going to go with Luke Riley. I like his boxing. I think he's going to be comfy out there. He knows this is a technical good opponent. Michael Aswell was his last opponent. That's the name I forgot about. And he kind of just tried to like swarm him and pressure him. But I think Kamaka is going to play that game at range. And he kicks a lot. Riley answers kicks very well. He'll catch a kick and throw a punch back and knock you out cold with it. So I think it's going to be a more Luke Riley style fight with two guys trying to figure out each other at range. I think Riley can do well with the low kicks. He's got to watch for Kamaka's low kicks. But I think I'm going to go with a late first round or second round KO from Luke Riley. Nasty combination. Big moment. He's a big favorite, minus 290. I don't think he should be that big of a favorite. I think he should be like a minus 100 and something, obviously. But it has to be that. But like a minus 190, minus 200. I don't think he's near a 3-1 favorite here. Kamaka's no fucking joke. So I think I'll be impressed if Riley goes out there and wins. But I expect it to happen nevertheless. I'm going with KO, Luke Riley, first or second round over Kamaka. Maybe gets hit a few times early. Comes back, gets a nasty KO. We move on. Cody Garbrandt versus Adrian Yanez. Yanez is a massive favorite here. And I know why, man. Garbrandt's fucking shit now. He's awful. And it was the last fight against Zhao Long. It was the last fight against Zhao Long where you were like, he really is done and shit. He's not in there till, I don't know what the mindset problem is. But listen. Just look at Cody Garbrandt, and I'm going to tell you something about his personality. There was a time where Garbrandt was the shit, but it was when he was undefeated and like this phenom undefeated guy on the come up. So his confidence was backed by performance and by results. He had no reason to think he wasn't the shit because he was in every fight that he had, other than one regional fight in the amateurs where he got slimed out cold. And he was doing good in the gym against TJ. He had all of this confidence off of results and performances. But look at Garbrandt. How bad are you trying to convince people you're tough? I know he is, and he's a bad guy, and he's a fucking UFC fighter. I completely understand. But in the middle of his career, I need a fucking knife tattoo over my eye. You've got kids. Just fucking do it. Just do a knife tattoo across my eyeball. You have kids. You have a family. What are you doing? I feel like Garbrandt is trying to, this is his identity, you know? So he has to be a UFC fighter, or he's the guy with a knife tattoo over his eye. So he has to be in this life, but he really doesn't want to be. Can you blame me for thinking that? Over his past few performances, what about them have told you that this guy wants to actually be in there? He doesn't trade. He doesn't interact with his opponent. He can maybe fight a Trevin Jones, a low-level UFC bantamweight guy at the time, and win a decision where he barely does anything in the fight. But he won his last fight via points being taken away from low blows over and over again. And that's the only reason he won, because other than a good shot or two in the first round, he did nothing but back away the entire time. Nothing but back away the entire time. And then he psyched himself up afterwards, psyched himself up and got mad and angry at the groin shots. Let's go, and rallied the crowd, ran in through a flying knee, and that was it. That was the extent of his hype and his energy that he built up in the corner after getting groin shotted and how pissed he was. He threw a flying knee, and then that was it. He's done. And he just backed up the entire round again. I'm going with Adrian Yanez. You want to know why? Garbrandt's got shit boxing. People watched him win 3-2 against Dominic Cruz based on knockdowns. Very impressive performance, don't get me wrong, but he won 3-2. He got outlanded every single round. Very selective memory people have with Garbrandt, okay? I know he dropped Dillashaw and it's impressive. Very selective memory people have with Garbrandt. He got outlanded every round by Cruz on significant strikes, but he body popped a bit. Won 3 rounds off of a knockdown in each. Very impressive to do that to Cruz at the time. But it was Unk Cruz who had 2 torn foot muscles, battling through injury, took the Garbrandt fight thinking, oh, it's on a Rousey card. I'm pretty sure it was. I'll get pay-per-view residuals. I think he had tendonitis in his feet or some shit. And Garbrandt ended up beating him, and it's like, nobody's ever looked as good as Garbrandt did that night. 3-2 decision. I think the judges didn't see it that way, but got outlanded every round. I just think the Garbrandt thing was never there fully, and now it's definitely not. I'm going with Yanez. Garbrandt struggles with good boxers and good strikers. And Yanez, what's good about Yanez is he's tough. I know he got slammed out by Rob Font. Garbrandt also lost to Rob Font. Yanez can get carried away in a war. I don't think his recent record is accurate but he's 1-3 in his last 4 or whatever. He clearly beat Ricky Simone. One of the worst decisions I've ever seen in my entire life. And one thing I like about Yanez is he's got a decent jab. He's got a really solid jab and a snappy, quick jab. And that's something that Rob Font was doing to Garbrandt that gave him a ton of problems. And Garbrandt could catch Yanez and put him away. He's got that power, but to bet on him to win a UFC fight at this point, you're kidding yourself. His head's not in the game. And I think Yanez is going to pepper him up and then put him away on pay-per-view. And it's going to be a huge moment for Adrian Yanez. So yeah, I'm going to go with Cody Garbrandt losing by KO. In the first or second round, I think we're going to see a lot of KOs this card. We move on. Gable Steveson versus Alicia Ellison. They've got Alicia Ellison. They made sure to have Alicia Ellison's picture up there, not Gable Steveson. Who's the star, you wonder? It's obviously Alicia Ellison. That's the one they care about. But Gable Stevenson's on the card. But you know, he's on here despite not having a picture up. They call it the Gable Steveson loophole. I'm gonna go. He's on the main card of this pay-per-view. Just the Gable Steveson loophole, folks. Making your debut on a UFC pay-per-view main event or main card. You're in your debut in the UFC. You've only got a couple of MMA fights, and you're on the McGregor card, main card of a pay-per-view. It's the Gable Steveson loophole, folks. I'm gonna go with Gable Steveson getting this one done by getting Alicia Ellison drunk first. No, I'm joking. I'm going to go with Gable Steveson by TKO in the first round. Alicia Ellison's shit. He's 5-2. He shouldn't be in the UFC. He lost to Brando Pericic by first round TKO. I believe on the Contender Series or maybe his debut on short notice or something. But yeah, man, he's 5-2. He's not really a heavyweight either. He's 6 feet tall and 236 pounds. I'd mog Alicia Ellison. I'd literally brutally frame mog Alicia Ellison as the fucking MMA Jerusalem frat leader. He's not a big dude and he's not a heavyweight. He's really not a heavyweight. If he had any level of conditioning or like commitment to anything, he'd be a middleweight in the UFC or maybe even a fucking welterweight, to be honest with you. He's not a big dude, so it's a perfect matchup for Gable Steveson. I don't sense the lighter man skill that comes along with being a shorter guy. Gable Steveson, incredible wrestler. one of the best wrestlers of this generation at heavyweight, especially the best heavyweight wrestler of this generation. I would imagine that is not disagreeable in any way. One of the biggest names to come out of US wrestling. They're finally making the transition over to the sport again. We see with Bo Nickel coming up. He's doing a bit better now. Gable Stevenson's making his way over. So this would be their redemption story for US wrestling. I think he's going to KO Elisha Ellison, but it doesn't prove anything to me. Elisha Ellison is no different than the regional guys Gable Stevenson's been fighting. No different at all. When you come to the UFC, it should be a step up. I think it's smart that they do this. Baby steps. We still don't know how good Gable Stevenson really is. He's a great wrestler, and he has KO power. But I truly believe any good athlete with a couple of years training can make a bunch of highlight reel KOs out of the regional heavyweight MMA scene, because most of them are just fat middle-aged men that are having a crisis and want to go out there and prove something to themselves. Just some blue-collar guys, never really lived life. I'll make a fucking heavyweight MMA debut on the regional scene and get slammed out by an athlete when I'm like 40 and I'm still trying to keep my channel afloat. You know? That's just the natural fucking route of life. I'll be there. I swear. That's what's going to happen, dude. My channel's going to fall off when I'm 30-something years old. I'm finally going to have taken one too many mental breakdown breaks from the channel and disappearing. We're done with your disappearing acts, dude. We're sick and tired of it. And I'll just lose everything. And then at 40 years old, I'm getting slammed out by the next big thing at heavyweight. So I don't really know if to rate that of Gable Stevenson, but he's going to get a KO here. I don't think he's ready for the top guys at heavyweight. I think Hockett would beat him. I think Volkov, Blades, all these guys would beat Gable Stevenson at this point. But he's powerful. I will say when he got hit with that wheel kick, good chin. That's a good sign. He got hit with that wheel kick in his last fight and he took it and he still got the finish. He looked shit in that fight, though. He didn't look like a light on his feet heavyweight. He actually started plodding. And there's an old interview of one of his wrestling coaches or one of the guys at Jackson Wink or something, or that's worked with him before, that says he's never going to be anything in MMA because he don't like getting hit and he's a bit of a bitch. So I don't know if there's some like personal drama there, but we'll see with Gable Stevenson when the going gets tough. But it's not going to get tough against Elisha Ellison. He's going to get a first round KO, guaranteed, pretty much. He's a minus 2,500 favorite for a reason. Slow roll it though. Let's build him up, or we'll get another Bo Nickel on our hands. We move on up the card. He's not even on the main card. Who's on the fucking main card? Oh shit, this card's fucking stacked. I thought he was on the main card. Maybe not. Maybe they changed it. Robert Whittaker versus Nikita Krylov. I'm going to go with Robert Whittaker getting this one done by KO. Cinema on the headliner of the prelims, dude. Whittaker's back. He's an underdog here against Nikita Krylov. Dude, I don't think Krylov's got him. I really don't think Krylov's got him. Whittaker ain't going to goofily lunge in and get slimed out. I said that before the first Adesanya fight, but still. Ain't happening, dude. Whittaker's going to be short out there, don't get me wrong, but he's not going to be completely dwarfed. He will. He'll look small out there. And he's got a 73.5-inch reach, which isn't bad for his height because I think he's about 5'11". People think he's big, but he's not that big. I think he's about 5'11". He's got a pretty... That's still not the best of reach for that height either. I think McGregor's got a longer reach than that at 74 inches or something, but I think Whittaker's going to be able to beat Krylov. I think he'll just be way better than him skill-wise. And I've seen Modestas Bukauskas, friend of the channel, Tom Aspinall's bud, but not Whittaker in terms of his technical skill level when it comes to striking. I'm sure even he would maybe agree. He wouldn't because he's an MMA fighter and they never would agree with something like that. But I saw him run a bit of a tit-for-tat, simple shot game against Krylov, and it kind of worked until it didn't in moments. And he kind of let it slip away from him, and then he got caught in the very end of the third round. Whittaker's going to out-technically strike Nikita Krylov and be too quick for him. And I think he's going to slime out Nikita Krylov on the headliner of the prelims. There, I said it. I wasn't sure about him moving up at first, but the more I watch back Nikita Krylov fights and the more I watch back Whittaker fights, they're on a different level when it comes to MMA. The only way you'd pick Nikita Krylov is power, and he's crazy and he's going to swarm Whittaker. But I think if Whittaker knows the swarm is coming, he can defend it quite well. You know? You really break down Whittaker or snipe him out of nowhere. I think Krylov's going to be out of his depth here. I don't think he's going to out-grapple Whittaker. And I don't think he's going to finish Whittaker. I think he's going to be throwing kicks that miss. Whittaker's going to be stomping his leg, low kicking him, jabbing low. And then I think he'll catch Krylov going for a high kick with like a tight lead left hook. That's what I'm saying. Robert Whittaker, KO, first or second round over Krylov. Nasty finish, I swear. We move on. Bobby Green versus Terrence McKinney. I don't care how small it is. You don't get to change your name to King in the middle of your life and make everybody call you it. Bobby Green versus Terrence McKinney. Okay. I'm going with Terrence McKinney, dude. Friend of the channel, friend of the show. We're boys. Last time I used reverse psychology, and I told you I was doing that by picking Nelson to beat him, and boom, McKinney gets the first round KO. So maybe this time I should pick Bobby Green to do that reverse psychology again, because I can never pick a McKinney fight, right? Because he's so 50-50. I think he's going to beat Bobby Green this time. Okay? He's fast. He's powerful. And Bobby Green has his hands by his fucking waist. And McKinney is a guy you can't get hit by in the first minute of a fight. Danger, danger, danger. Dangerous, dangerous, dangerous. I think McKinney's going to get a first round KO here over Bobby Green. The streak is going to run out on Bobby Green, I reckon. It's been a few in a row. He beat Daniel Zellhuber. He beat some other guys. He beat the Lance Gibson Jr. guy. Kind of low-level guys, in my opinion, in the UFC lightweight rankings. But some of them, I thought Zellhuber could get one over on him just because he's massive compared to Green. But these guys in hindsight are shit, and then Bobby Green proves it. You know? I know that's easy to say after the fact. But in hindsight, when Bobby Green fights someone, it's not that I think, how good is Bobby Green? He is really good. But it's Jeremy Stevens in 2026. You know? That's what I end up thinking. Or they just look shit against him and don't do... But like a good prospect beats him. Like Huffy or Pimlet. The best of the fucking best get by him, you know? I think McKinney's going to chin him, though. Powerful, fast early, can wrestle if the going gets tough. Is he going to be able to out-wrestle Bobby Green? Probably not, but, you know, he can mix it in and make Green think about it. And I just don't think there's going to be a time to ease into the fight. I think McKinney can go buck wild and just take out Bobby Green in the first round by TKO. That's what I think. KO finish from Terrence McKinney. He's going to get this one done. And this guy's strong. He lifted me up when I was drunk and I didn't see it coming. I went for a fucking handshake. The guy gets double unders, bear hugs me, lifts me up, makes me look a fucking fool. Okay? Embarrassing. Just everyone around me gets real physical, dude. Don't like being around a big guy. Oh, I can lift you up. Yeah, you're real tough. You're a UFC fighter. We get it. Okay? I still think about that moment. Wasn't ready for double unders. Went for the handshake. Oh, he's unders. He's lifting me up. Put me down, I say. I'm trying to put him off. I can't. He's got Dagestani grip strength. It is what it is. But I'm still going to go with McKinney. The guy's strong, dude. He can lift me up. I think I was at a mean 255 when I met up with him. So I'm going to go with Terrence McKinney getting this one done by KO in the first round against Bobby Green. I'm wondering how Green's going to approach it early, though. Because it's a fucking risky guy to do the hands down. Come on, bitch. Come on, bitch. Because he will just slime you out if you do that. You have to cover up a bit. I'm going to go with Bobby Green getting slimed out cold by Terrence McKinney live on pay-per-view. We move on. Brandon Royval versus Lona Kavanagh. England. He's repping England. He's changed the flag from China to England. World Cup merchant. You know, he's jumping on. But now it's coming home. All of a sudden, Lona Kavanagh's repping the UK flag. Whoa. We don't forget, buddy. You're on that side. No, I'm joking though. But he did rep the Chinese flag at one point. But now he's born and raised in England and he is English, so half Chinese. But Lona Kavanagh, enough about his ethnicity. Lona Kavanagh's getting this one done by KO in the first round. He's too fucking good for Brandon Royval, dude. I've been proven wrong. I was all aboard the Lona Kavanagh hype train, but when I saw him fight Charles Johnson, a part of me died. Okay? I was all aboard. This guy's going to be the next big thing. Watch out for Lona Kavanagh, dude. But when I saw him fight Charles, and by the way, re-signed Felipe Dos Santos. I'm just keeping it real. Aside from this matchup, re-signed Felipe Dos Santos. The guy took Manel Cap to split decision on short notice and took Lona Kavanagh to a competitive decision as well. Re-sign Felipe Dos Santos. I don't know what he's doing. I don't care if he's lost on a regional scene. That guy's UFC level. Lona Kavanagh, though. Lost to Johnson. I doubted him. He tired out. He was going for the KO. He couldn't quite find it. I think he'll chin Brandon Royval. 5-rounders will forever worry me with Lona. I think he's so explosive that he has to really pace himself to go 5. But with the calf kicks included in his game, he can debilitate his opponent early in the fight. So where he's not going to face a fresh as a daisy version of him in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. They're going to be a mangled mess by the time they get to those later rounds. And him adding that calf kick to his game, which I didn't really see on the regional scene as much, although at some points I did, but not to the level that he was throwing it in that Moreno fight. That's a real mean weapon. I think he chins Brandon Royval. Royval's coming off a KO loss. He's going to be jittery out there. His career's on the line. He'd probably fight after this, but his career as being one of the best flyweights in the world rests on the performance here. It's a big moment. He's coming off that KO loss. Got put away by Manel Cap in the first round by TKO. Lona Kavanagh's going to put him away in the first. I so see it. He's a bit short, but he's not too bad behind him reach. And Brandon Royval throws a lot of shots with his chin up in the air. And he can get away with it against certain flyweights that don't have that crazy power because, he's rangier than them. He's longer. He can lean out the way. I saw Van land a hook over the top of his lead hand, Royval's lead hand, so many times in their fight. And with Kavanagh's speed, this is going to be a nasty first round KO from Lona Kavanagh. He'll target the body and the legs early, go upstairs a little bit, and then bang, whips a hook upstairs and puts away Brandon Royval in the first round. Nasty finish, backflip, superhero landing. I'm calling it all for Lona Kavanagh. It's coming on. We move on. Corey Sandhagen versus Mario Batista. I'm going to go Mario Batista here. I'm going to go with the underdog of Mario Batista over Corey Sandhagen. Corey. New gym. Maybe the worst time in history to not be training with Trevor Whitman, but I think he's still with him. He's still going to be a part of this training camp. I'm going against Corey Sandhagen, dude. I'm fucking done with him. I'm done with him. There, I said it. I'm done with this guy. I'm sick of it. The journaling about violence to go out there and pitter-patter. There was a moment when this guy knocked out Frankie Edgar and Marlon Moraes back-to-back. In hindsight, the 2 most KOable bantamweights of recent history in terms of the versions that he fought of them, where I thought, you can't get hit by anything off Sandhagen. You make one wrong move and it's all over, buddy. You're another guy on the Sandman's highlight reel. Still won't walk out to enter Sandman. Just walk out to enter Sandman, dude. I don't know why I'm venting so much about him here. You nerd. You're such a nerd, dude. I'm going to go Mario Batista. I'm going to go Mario Batista getting this one done. And I like Corey Sandhagen, but it's only through liking someone that you can truly hate them. Okay? I can't hate someone I've never liked. They're just indifferent to me. But Corey Sandhagen's well and truly on my sick of him list. And I'm going to go with Mario Batista getting this one done. I think he'll mix in the grappling. He's a big dude. The first time he fought Sandhagen, he stepped up on short notice in 2019, got put away in the first round, hit with a flying knee, and I believe caught in a submission afterwards. Something along those lines. Sandhagen was looking really good coming up. But Mario Batista's looked amazing recently. And his Umar Nurmagomedov fight, the guy's got power. He can hurt opponents. You can put him away. He's big, he's physical, and he's aggressive, and he's the lead. And that's a big thing in these types of fights with Corey Sandhagen, because Sandhagen is the king of close competitive fights. And the lead will usually win those fights. In hindsight, he had the worst Merab performance out of anyone bar O'Malley in the rematch. You know? Out of all the people that had the competitive ones with Merab, with the first O'Malley fight even, and the Umar Nurmagomedov fight, the Yan rematch. The Yan first fight was dominant, I get it. But in that spree, that short window where Merab was kind of at his peak, he just lets fights get away from him if somebody's the aggressor. He doesn't have things for them to run into anymore. I'm not worried about him catching a flying knee on someone anymore. You know? He doesn't risk it for the biscuit anymore, dude. He's trying to outdo someone and win the fight on being better than them by taking no risk. I'm going with Mario Batista getting this one done. I think he'll mix in takedowns. I think that's going to be a big factor here. I think Sandhagen will scramble him, but Batista will end the round on top position. And I don't think Sandhagen's going to do enough on the feet in terms of damage and in terms of big moments to where that's going to make too much of a difference in the judges' scorecards. They're going to look to Batista putting him against the cage, taking him down here and there, and having big moments on the feet where he lands the big shot that might not have even landed, but it hit Sandhagen's guard and made a big noise. It's just Sandhagen doesn't do enough to get himself clearly ahead. What the fuck is Peyton Tabit doing, by the way? What's the plan with him? I'm going with Mario Batista getting this one done. We move on. Benoit Saint-Denis versus Paddy the Baddy Pimlet, lad. Hey, lad, hey. Men need to start talking, lad. Paddy Pimlet's getting this one done. It's going to be a tasty KO, lad, in the first round, lad. It's over. Nice fucking uppercut, left hand, down the pipe. Benoit's going out cold, lad. I'm going with Paddy Pimlet getting this one done. You mad croissant, lad? I can't wait for the press conference if Benoit gets chirpy. You know what I mean? If Benoit just gets a little bit too arrogant and chirpy, Paddy Pimlet. The options for French cuisine that Paddy Pimlet can call him. You mad frog, lad? He's getting called a frog. You fucking escargot, lad. You're a fucking plate of escargot, lad. You mad croissant. Shut up, lad. Benoit Saint-Denis losing. I've been watching back fights. He's the slight favorite here. Paddy Pimlet's the underdog. Dude, if Benoit Saint-Denis fights that Gaethje, he's gassing and getting chinned in round 2 or 3. Hot fucking take, dude. Hot take. If Benoit Saint-Denis fights current Gaethje, he's gassing out trying to get takedowns, and then he's getting slimed out. He probably won't even go for too many takedowns either. But he'd probably get chinned early in the fight against him and break. I really think that. Not Pimlet, dude. Not Paddy the Baddy, lad. We go 5 rounds, lad, even though we got eye poked twice, mate. We go 5 fucking rounds, lad. We don't have time for an MMA guru interview, lad. That's how locked in we are, lad. That's how fucking locked in we are, mate. We've got to hate watch England games, lad. We ain't got fucking time for MMA guru, lad. I'm still picking him. We're still best buds. I'm still invited to his birthday party, but I don't like talking about that. Yeah, I've been to so many of them. It's just like every other day to me. He's not invited to mine, no. I don't just fucking invite anyone off the fucking street. But I'm going to go with Paddy Pimlet here. I think Benoit Saint-Denis is too vulnerable on the feet early. And I know Pimlet, listen, Rich coming from someone on Team Paddy Pimlet, dude. He's a vulnerable guy early as well. I don't see Benoit chinning him. Beneil Dariush, oh, that was a fucking pathetic fart, but it still probably KO'd Beneil Dariush somewhere. If the wind catches that little measly fart I just did that was almost more because I didn't have a fart stored up for that impromptu moment, Beneil Dariush is getting chinned by it, dude. Welcome to the club. Oh, you slammed out Dariush, dude. Oh, you got crazy power. Anybody could. Anybody could, dude. Hooper throws a mean right hand the right way. Dariush is going out cold. I'm going with Paddy Pimlet. I think it's going to be a grueling fight. And I think if we do get scrappy, Benoit's going to be too vulnerable. And I don't think he has the grappling to dominate Pimlet in the grappling. I think Pimlet's got more of that Moicano level shit. Remember the Moicano fight? I think he's got more of the Moicano level jiu-jitsu. And listen, maybe Moicano would out-grapple Pimlet. We won't know until they fight each other. But I just think Pimlet's not at that level to be out-grappled by Benoit Saint-Denis and fear it the way a Dan Hooker would. You know, the way a Hoofy would, who doesn't really have that aspect to their game. Pimlet's got vulnerabilities on the feet, I understand. But you have to get to him. And there's power coming your way. There's shots coming your way. And Gaethje walked into so much of it. And Benoit is chin ahoy, up in the air, ready to get slammed out. Incredible. Ready to get put away by KO. And I think Paddy Pimlet is going to get it done. I think Benoit will start rushing in, maybe shoot for some takedowns. Pimlet defends it against the cage. I'm calling it right now. We're getting a vintage Paddy Pimlet hip toss against the cage. That's another hot take I'm having for this fight. And I'm going to go with a second round KO for Paddy Pimlet. Second round KO. All that Pimlet impression's got my nose blocked. But I'm going for a second round KO for Paddy Pimlet. I think he'll piece up Saint-Denis. Maybe catch him in a guillotine. There's many ways. Can you not see the many ways? Yes, Benoit could catch Pimlet and Pimlet's shit and Benoit just destroys him. Maybe that could happen. Maybe that's your pick. Okay. But there's just so many like individual paths that this fight could go down that I think Pimlet could really take advantage of. The guillotine, the scramble where he ends up on top in a good position over Benoit Saint-Denis, the catching Benoit coming in on the feet. That could so fucking happen with a big knee up the middle. If we get past the first minute and Pimlet's still landing and even deep in the body, I watched back the Dan Hooker fight. Hooker fumbled that fight. He actually had decent moments of takedown defense there where he stopped Benoit's grappling, but then he would like engage himself there, try and win a 50-50 and end up on bottom against Benoit Saint-Denis.
Lung damage engaged. Straight into the brain.
Repeated vaping as a teen can damage more than your lungs. It can harm your brain, too.
Really low-level decision-making from Dan Hooker, because in the first round, Benoit was like a timid boy out there. He got hurt to the body in the first round, and he was so vulnerable. He throws some hitters. I don't think he's chinning Pimlet, though. I think Pimlet's going to eat that all day, lad. I'm going to eat that like a fucking Macron, lad. That's what I'm doing, mate. I'm going to eat that like a fucking croissant. Like a ham and cheese croissant, lad. What's going on? Oh, it's fucking going off, lad. That's fucking heavy, lad. And he's going to finish Benoit Saint-Denis in the second round by TKO. Shots up the middle on Benoit. Or hurts Benoit Saint-Denis. Saint-Denis, shoots in on a takedown. Shoots it on a takedown. And then Paddy Pimlet gets him in a headlock. And Benoit Saint-Denis, not a headlock, a fucking guillotine. We're not in a fucking schoolyard. But hurts Benoit Saint-Denis. Oh, gets onto a grappling moment, shoots in a bad takedown. Pimlet, ahoy, jumps the guillotine. Fucking fucking way, mate. And then does it and gets back to ready in time to hate watch England against Norway, if it's going to be in time for that, or if that'll already be over. But, you know, I'm going to go with Paddy Pimlet getting this one done against Benoit Saint-Denis, lad. Submission. Second round after hurting him on the feet. Don't say I didn't warn you. We move on. Up the card. Conor McGregor! No, I'm joking. No, it's not Chandler. Just jumped in for a collab. He would never do that with me. Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway, the rematch. It's going down. McGregor's back. Am I off in saying I'm not feeling the buzz? I think I'm numb to joy because young Guru would have been fucking going crazy. McGregor's back. This is the guy that got me into a hardcore fan and made me into a hardcore fan of the sport. And maybe I'll do a whole other video on that. I won't disappear until the event starts, I promise. But Conor McGregor, it's the vibe is back. He is back. It's a big moment. I will say this before I'm picking Holloway by TKO in the later rounds. Ugh, it hurts me to say that, okay? It hurts me to say that, but I am going to go with Max Holloway getting this one done. But Conor McGregor, he's back. There was a time before the White House card was even on the horizon where we knew McGregor was coming back against Holloway, and we were saying, what's going to be bigger, the McGregor card or the White House card? It's the fucking White House card by miles. And there was like 50-50. What are we going to care about more? What's going to bring the attention in more, the McGregor card or the White House card? And I'm telling you, it's the White House card by a mile from what I'm feeling. Okay? And from what I'm seeing online and the posting. The UFC is shit at promoting fights, but they did put in effort to the White House card, and that's the difference, right? This is just another UFC card, but it's a big one. McGregor's back. If he gets this one done, I'm going to be on. I won't understand the sport whatsoever because it will deny all logic of the sport that I have. He could do it, but I don't think it works like that, pal. Okay? We really doubt you. I don't think it does, me. Conor McGregor's not getting this one done against Max Holloway. There's a chance he puts him away in the first 2 rounds. That's so difficult to do at a high level in MMA. That's so difficult to do. Oh, you can beat Holloway. You just got to put him away in the first round by KO. Yeah, that's the way you got to win. It's at 170, I understand. But I think McGregor's going to come in at a 180. Holloway's fought large dudes before. Gaethje's big. They're not as powerful as McGregor. Oliveira's big, though. And they hit hard. Holloway's still got a chin on him. You know what I mean? Even though he has been dropped recently, I understand. And McGregor could drop him. It could happen. But is he going to come back after 5 years off after breaking his leg? Walks back into the sport at the highest level and defeat Max Holloway by first or second round KO? Are we in a fucking fairy tale? Are we in dreamland? Surely there's no way that fucking happens. That would be shocking to me. After all that he's done in the 5 years off, this guy ain't been in the gym every fucking day. He's not been hustling to improve himself and just... If Yuri dipped for 5 years, I'd be fucking terrified for his next opponent. Because I know that dude's sitting in a dark room and training in the fucking woods for 5 straight years, developing this fucking game. I'd be shitting bricks for his next opponent. Conor McGregor, sailing around the world, this business, that business, this allegation, that allegation, this court case, that court case, this drama, that one. This headline, that headline. This picture of him hanging a weight off of his dick, that picture of a weight hanging off of his dick. I don't know if McGregor's getting this one done. I don't see it happening. If he wanders back in after 5 years off and just puts out Holloway in the first round, surprise, motherfuckers, the king is back, and starts calling out Topturo and Ili Abturo, Topturo. And it's prime McGregor back on the mic. And then one of these mouthy fields can't get it. And he's calling out Paddy Pimblett and this and looking for a title shot and everything. Are we going to be in that timeline after Gaethje pulled it off against Topuria? After Strickland pulled it off against Chimaev? Is that really... You're telling me that's going to happen as well? McGregor walks his back in? I don't fucking see it, man. He could catch Holloway early. I think Holloway's early game has improved since when he was featherweight champ. He was a bit of a cardio merchant at featherweight, but I think his technique and his striking, as he's moved up in the divisions, has gotten a lot better. Man, I think Holloway's going to do this. I think he's going to stay composed, go out there, stomp the lead leg of McGregor quite a bit. McGregor's going to do it. What's that? What's that? He's going to be pulling out all the fucking classic McGregor emotes from your favorite McGregor fight. A little clap with his hands in front of Holloway. Wide, Chuck Norris style, yeah? I'm going to come out there, wide hands, Chuck Norris style, yeah? And say, what have you got? And you'll do nothing. You know what I mean? He's going to have all of it. All of your favorite McGregor classics. Okay? But I think Holloway still wins. I think Holloway's going to smirk at it, laugh at it. He did what he did, brother. But then as time goes on, McGregor is more hittable in those later rounds, in the second, third, fourth, fifth round. Beyond that explosive moment in the first, he does just get stung by jabs and twos. You know? In a lot of his fights, he'll do a lot of like standing there with his hands down and waiting to pull out the way of shots and throw back. But once that's not going to KO you anymore, which happens at around the late second round mark of the fight, once he's not going to chin you with that, you can start following up with your first strike. And Holloway is a master at the jab, jab two, at the 1-2 down the pipe. That's his game. I can so see him clipping McGregor in the second and third round. I think we're getting a McGregor guillotine, Paul. It's crazy, I know, but McGregor does love himself a guillotine. I think we can see a clinch moment break out where McGregor turns around and maybe Holloway's mixing up a single just to mix it up on McGregor a bit, and he pulls a guillotine and Holloway has to escape it. I just don't see McGregor getting this one done. I'll be shocked if he comes out there and pulls this shit off. Oliveira did catch him a bunch, but Holloway had to worry about the grappling the whole time. And now we know why. Because Oliveira is that level of grappler compared to Holloway. As predicted by me as my only successful main event pick this year. Surely Holloway's pulling this off. He's committed to the game. He's in the mix. He's fighting the best fighters in the world. He's making it competitive against them. He's got a win over the fucking undisputed lightweight champion right now. That win has aged better than anyone else on his recent record. I'm going to go with Max Holloway getting this one done. Surely Max Holloway wins this one. He is a bit outreached. McGregor's got a 5-inch reach advantage over him in the arms. Okay. We all saw Holloway's micro that one time at the weigh-in. I won't bring it up, but it is a thing. But either way, Max Holloway is going to get it done. Jerome is coming out to play, which is not what he says before a weigh-in. But yeah, Max Holloway's getting this one done by TKO in the third or fourth round. I think he puts McGregor away badly. Up against the cage. Once the body shots start sinking in for Holloway a bit, he does have pop, and it will hurt McGregor. You know? You don't get to walk away from the sport for 5 years, lollygag around life with no fucking care in the world. Sniff your fucking lines that you're doing. You're drinking this, and you're doing this, and you're partying with there and there and there, and you're fucking this chick and that chick, and most of them say yes. And then just walk back into the sport. The case is bullshit, by the way. I'm going to add it at the end of this video. I'm trying to mix in jokes. The case is absolute. I see the Twitter posts calling him it the biggest bullshit case I've ever seen in my fucking life. Read the case, folks. Okay? I know they had to surgically remove it, but we've seen the lifting weights. He's just that big. Okay? Listen, he's not even that big. But either way, what are we talking about now? The case was bullshit, dude. But that's going to play on his mind. This is an innocent man being accused. Okay? So that's really going to make him crazy. You know, if you really did it, it'd probably be easier to understand all the headlines about it, you know, but he's had a fucking spiritual journey after that shit. You know? I think Holloway puts him away, though. What was the last few minutes of this? Why did it devolve into that? I'm going to go with TKO, Max Holloway. McGregor comes out in the first round, lands some slick shit. He's back. Throws a couple head kicks that Holloway partially blocks, and the crowd's going, ooh, you know, maybe a couple low kicks. No, McGregor opens up with a spinning back kick to the body. Book it in. Write it down. Book it in, write it down. McGregor's opening up with a body kick, spinning back kick to the body. Wide stance. No touch of the gloves. Spinning back kick to the body on Max Holloway, and Holloway goes and exit on a little bit. Okay. And then McGregor starts going for him, low kicks, some shots that sting Holloway. But Holloway lands some back and gets McGregor's respect around the halfway point of round one. Maybe a couple kicks himself. He mixes in, stomps the lead leg of McGregor. McGregor, what's that? Do something more than that. What you got? Clapping in his face. Wide stance, starts moving like this a little bit. Capoeira style. Wheel kicks at one point in the round, whiffs it completely. You know? And then we move into round 2. I think we get a bit scrappy. Both guys are landing shots. McGregor stings Holloway, goes in, looking for something bigger. McGregor gets tagged back by Holloway. It's still an even fight. They're clinching a bit. McGregor pulls a guillotine. Then he's back up. Holloway separates. But now Holloway's starting to pressure a bit more. McGregor's still stinging him. We go into round 3. They're getting scrappy again. McGregor's stinging him, but it's losing its pop. Holloway realizes it's losing its pop. He starts stinging McGregor back, backs him up against the cage, body shots, head shots. McGregor's struggling to stay in there. He shoots in. Holloway fails a fucking guillotine or some shit. They end up back on their feet against the cage. McGregor's trying to work elbows and shoulders, and Holloway's just digging into their body and their head. Could get saved by the bell, could get finished at the end of round 3, and then, you know, but if he does get saved by the bell in round 3, round 4 is when Holloway's going to put it on him, put him away. I think it's the jab too. You know, some moments late in fights, McGregor starts dipping and just hoping that another shot doesn't come his way. You know, when he doesn't have that pop, he'll just weave out the way or something and then like feint low or weave out the way and then wipe his face and start walking away from his opponent. If he starts doing that, Holloway's going to follow up jab 2 and crack McGregor. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've got Holloway round 4 TKO or at the end of round 3. See you later. Goodbye. Missed the fucking button. See you later. Goodbye.
Turn up the heat with Culver's new jalapeno jack pub burger and chicken sandwich.
So Anthony Smith lost his fight to Roman Dolidze at UFC 303, and recently he's been getting absolutely cooked by other fighters. Michael Bisping was giving him like almost like a hard dose of the truth that he isn't good enough to be championship level on their recent episode of the Believe You Me podcast. And also TJ Dillashaw went off on Anthony Smith as well and said some things that I really believe in, to be honest with you. Now, it sounds rich coming from TJ when you hear some of the things that he said because, of course, he took EPO, and by the looks of Smith's physique, there's no way he's touched a performance-enhancing drug in his life. I'm just going to use the old Rogan John Jones excuse there. Either way, I'm going to play you what TJ said, and I'm going to go through some of these moments where Smith is making excuses and Bisping is trying to hit him with the truth, and I'm going to give my opinion in certain moments as well. But basically, Anthony Smith is getting cooked by his own friends and own peers in the sport. Let's listen to what TJ says, first of all.
TJ, the most asked question on our Jackson podcast, do we think Anthony Smith has what it takes to be a light heavyweight world champion?
Never.
No. Whoa. TJ.
That's, you know what? Yeah. TJ is a real one. Even though he cheated, this is the problem with MMA fighters in general. Everyone else in the room just went, whoa. You don't think Smith you don't think he beats Pereira right now? You don't think he's world championship level? No, he obviously isn't. But they will never say it how it is. So you get these guys feeding into Smith's delusion, like on your night, you could still be a world champion. And then you get Smith sticking around years too long. And then he has a really, really horrible ending to his career full of CTE.
TJ, the most asked question on our Jackson podcast, do we think Anthony Smith has what it takes to be a light heavyweight world champion?
Never.
No. Whoa. TJ, come on. You're a 2-time world champion. You did it in the UFC. Let other people have a little shine. You don't got to kill his dreams like that.
Dude, I just don't. He's not good enough.
To say
like
He's not good enough. And that's really it. He's not good enough. If you're getting outstruck by Roman Dolidze, you're not good enough at striking to be an elite level world-class UFC fighter. Fact. If you can't out grapple, if your grappling is then what you resort to, and you can't get takedowns ever in your fights, you're just not cut out to be a top level UFC fighter. Maybe when Jones was on top, you can go to a decision with him because, that was an easier time at light heavyweight. But right now, dude, these guys are going to eat you alive at light heavyweight. There's no chance for Smith to become champ.
Like he gives up. Have you
Lionheart?
I've watched him game as
Lionheart.
No, his name is Lion.
And that's their only defense. Anthony Smith does give up. And their only defense is what? He nicknamed himself Lionheart, for God's sakes. What are you saying he gave up? It almost feels like Rampage is being sarcastic, by the way.
Lionheart?
I've watched him. Have you
Lionheart?
I've watched him game as he gives up. Have you
Lionheart?
I've watched him game as
Lionheart.
No, his name is Lionheart.
That's a
Lionheart. What is the nickname?
Would he give himself that?
It means to be with a lion.
Did he give himself that name or what?
Oh my God,
I mean,
TJ.
he gives up in there, bro.
Wow.
Okay, the second round, he doesn't even try to fucking stand up.
It's true. It's the Anthony Smith position. If you showed me a silhouette of Anthony Smith, not of Anthony Smith, of a guy 2-on-1 wrist control on his knees while the other opponent's got like backside control. First of all, I think you've like got a silhouette of John Jones's bedroom at night. But second of all, once I saw the 2-on-1 wrist control, I would say, oh, this is Smith in most fights all the time. Whenever he ends up on bottom, he just accepts that position so long as he doesn't get finished. Like it's almost like he starts reprogramming himself to not fight to win, but to fight to survive, so he can have that moral victory of making it to the distance without getting finished.
Roman's on his back. He doesn't even try to stand up.
He took the fight on a week's notice.
I'm fighting
Roman took it on a few days.
until I die, dog. I'm fighting with one arm. I'm doing whatever I possibly can.
Killshot, you a different breed. Hey, Killshot, you a different breed. That's why you on the podcast. That's why.
And that's true of TJ Dillashaw. Even though he took EPO, he was literally trying to pop his shoulder back into place as Aljamain Sterling is raining down punches. EPO doesn't do that. That's mentality stuff. You know what I'm saying? But Anthony Smith, everything TJ Dillashaw just said is true. I want to play this extra run as well because it's posted just underneath.
Personal offense to this because Anthony.
This is Harry Hardwick. This is Harry Hardwick. You look like Anthony Smith, someone said to him. And he's responded, this is just another easy bit of trash on Anthony Smith here. But we start seeing that fighters are starting to be real with Smith. And Bisping and Smith went back and forth a few times in this that I'm going to go through today as well. Let me just play this, though, because it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful verbal abuse. This is the Cage Warriors featherweight champion on a win streak, Harry Hardwick.
Are you on crack? I take personal offense to this because Anthony Smith is probably the shittest fighter in the world right now. He has the least appropriate nickname. He gets called Lionheart. Despite every fight, he goes into a fetal position on the floor and just sort of cowers. He gives up, but like lets the fight keep happening, and people give him praise for it. He's fucking terrible. Don't you agree, Paul?
He's absolutely shite.
George did not want to be a part of this one. George is like, fuck, I'm coming off a loss right now. He did not want to be a part of this video either way.
And he's a fucking idiot for not just taking the DQ win and running away with his money. Fucking moron. And all of his takes as an analyst are shit as well. Fuck Anthony Smith. Fuck.
Now, some may say that this is someone, speaking in extreme examples. Yeah, some people may suggest that. But it's true. He gets called Lionheart, and it's like everyone that talks about him, you hear all of these guys, the ESPN crew, basically, of UFC fighters. They're like, oh, no, he's Lionheart. He doesn't quit. It's like, I honestly believe that the only reason Anthony Smith is still fighting is because he knows if he stops fighting, they're not going to have him on the analyst desk for ESPN, and all of these other opportunities where he's going to be the expert in analysis for MMA are going to go out the window because he kind of needs his career. And I think Dominic Cruz is doing the same thing, in all honesty, but Smith is a more extreme example because at least Dominic Cruz is like the consensus bantamweight GOAT of the UFC. So Smith is just Anthony Smith as far as I'm concerned. But there's more. Aside from that roasting, Smith had some things to say about his loss as well here.
Been very high on Dolidze for a long time. It's just it's a stylistic nightmare for me. I'm
just going to say this because I'm now going to pile on Anthony Smith as well. if Roman Dolidze is a stylistic nightmare for you, upper weight class on a few days' notice, you aren't. Listen, I'm not a UFC fighter. I completely get it, yeah, but I'm just speaking objectively based on what I know from watching the sport for long enough. If you are, dude, Roman Dolidze, he's just my nightmare style matchup. But Pereira and Krylov and Ankalaev, light work. I'm still top level. But that Dolidze guy, sometimes someone's just got your number. If Roman Dolidze's the guy who's got your number, it's a real problem, and you're not elite level.
A shorter, stocky grappler with good striking, like those guys are have always kind of been my kryptonite. Where
good striking, Roman Dolidze. This is a real, and this is something where it goes to show that sometimes a completely detached opinion is so required in MMA. And maybe that's why my channel succeeds in the way it does, because I have a completely detached opinion. If you are considering Roman Dolidze a good striker, and that's why he gave you problems on the feet, Roman Dolidze is lost on the feet against pretty much every other opponent ever. But Smith, who still thinks he can make it to the top.
You know, those double threat guys. So
double threat guys. Okay. Roman Dolidze.
Shorter, stocky grappler with good striking. Like those guys are have always kind of been my kryptonite, where, you know, those double threat guys. So
double threat. You know, Roman Dolidze, that double threat. Just when you thought you were safe on the feet. No. No. You ain't safe anywhere. If you're not safe on the feet against Dolidze, you're not going to be a world champion at light heavyweight. I think someone really needs to just say this to Smith, to be honest with you. I wish I could say it with the sheer disrespect and aggressiveness and slander that Harry Hardwick did. Maybe I will by the end of this video, because I'm going to hear a lot more excuses from Smith throughout this. But I'm just trying to be real with him. Roman Dolidze is not a double threat. Okay? Sorry. Roman Dolidze is basically a free win for any middleweight that doesn't shoot a double leg on him. That's essentially what Roman Dolidze represents. He is not a double threat of a fighter. Sorry.
Yeah, it sucked. I just, I felt good in there too. Like, of course, there was a little bit of the leg kick problem, but I thought I dealt with that better than I've dealt with it in the past. I definitely checked. I checked way more than I took.
He didn't. And this is another problem. He just simply didn't. This is Ian Garry against MVP. He fucking rocked him with a left hand and saw his eyes roll back in the back of his fucking head in round 2. It just never happened. Like, fair enough, maybe he checked more than he did against Walker. And maybe he checked more than he did against Rakic, who literally destroyed his leg entirely in about 3 low kicks. And Kalaev as well. Maybe he checked more than he did against those guys. But if that's the improvement, you still got your leg chewed up by Dolidze. Roman Dolidze was chewing up your leg at range. And this is the delusion. It's like, I still checked loads of, I checked more than I took. No, you didn't. You just didn't. You took all of them pretty much. You checked some, but you pretty much took all of the low kicks from Dolidze.
Which is new for me. I don't know, it was short notice and I just didn't feel super comfortable the whole time in there. But in terms of the fight, like, I felt like my vision was there. I didn't take any real big shots. A little bit in the second when he kind of swarmed me, when our feet got tangled up and I went down and fell. But I felt like especially with a high level grappler like him, I thought I did a good job staying safe and working my way back to my feet. It took longer than I would have liked, but with a guy at his level of grappling, it's going to take longer than you want it to.
If you're elite, not if you're good enough to become a world champ. And this is something Jones will never have to say in his career. And you can blame PEDs for that all you want. It's just true. Jones will never have to say that. You got to watch out trying to get back up against Roman Dolidze. No elite level fighter will ever say that. Don't take down Dolidze, and you literally have a free win on your hands. That's how it's been with Dolidze throughout his entire career, pretty much. He didn't even try and get back up in round 2. 2-on-1, hunched over, tucked up in a ball on the ground, in the fetal position, and his opponent just punching him in the head, and he's not progressing. But because he's got wrist control on one of the arms, they can't generate enough power to finish him. So, wow, he's so Lionheart, dude. The way he sits there and takes a beating in a way that can't quite be a finishable moment of a fight. Insane stuff from Anthony Smith, you guys. It's just, no one is just saying to him real stuff that he needs to hear. Bisping tries to in this, but wow.
Yeah, it was, I don't know. I was just a little bit off, like not even off. I mean, he did a great job. I thought it was, I haven't rewatched it. It felt like it was close, but I haven't watched it back. So maybe that's not what it looked like.
Yeah. I was just off. No, you don't throw head. Listen, I'm just going to say it how it is, man. There are exceptions to this rule. But if you are an MMA fighter and you've been around for long enough, and I've never gone, oh my God, what a combination. When you're a striker, you're not elite level. If I've never seen a grappling exchange offensively from you when you're like, oh my God, he's ragdolling them, you're not elite level. I've never had those moments against Smith. Anthony Smith, in my honest opinion, I'm going to say this right now. I hate to pile on him because obviously he's in such a bad mood, but I need content. So I don't care. And my morals go out the window when it comes to ad revenue and views. Anthony Smith, what was I just about to say? He never enforces anything. Anthony Smith literally gets given wins. That's all I'm going to say throughout his career. If you look through Smith's career, and there are obviously going to be 1 or 2 pretty solid wins from him, Vitor Petrino handed him a victory by guillotine. Devin Clark handed him a victory by triangle choke. Ryan Spann threw away a victory in the rematch they had. Smith actually did quite well in the first fight and rocked him on the feet. Fair play. That was a good one. The second fight, Spann literally threw away the victory and decided not to win in round 3 for whatever reason that was. There's more as well. There's so many more examples. Jimmy Crute, we've got the perennial nerve situation, and then he's walking around in the corner and they call off the fight because he stumbles on his ankle. There's always been some kind of planet aligning in order for Anthony Smith to be given a victory in the UFC. You know, we're talking about a guy who rose to the top of the light heavyweight division when he did for his miraculous win over Shogun. And then I think he got by Ozdemir at one point. So maybe there was a time when he was good. Gustafsson completely gave up as soon as Smith got a takedown on him in their fight. And it just seems like there's been like, I've never seen Smith force his will on an opponent. You know what I mean? Just completely dominate them, lead the dance, and steer them towards his victory. It always feels like his opponent just crashes their own vehicle and then Smith completes the race and gets a gold medal for it. You know what I mean? It does feel like that. We move on, though. There's more to this. 6:05. And Bisping starts lecturing him and saying stuff like, well, Roman Dolidze had a week's notice. That's what people are going to say. So Bisping was pushing back.
And it took longer, and it was harder to get up than I expected it was going to be, which is silly because he's such a good grappler. Of course, he's going to make it tough. And he did a good job of just wearing on me when we were on the fence. Like, he wasn't super focused on attacking a submission or really getting any good ground and pound. He was just being heavy and just making me work really hard to get back to my feet.
And I say this again, Anthony Smith was not working hard to get back to his feet in round 2. He just wasn't. And all of the reasons he's just given as to why he couldn't get back up speak to why he's not going to be a world champion. And that's why he's saying he's going to stick around, because I know someday I'll prove that I'm the level that I say I am. And that's basically the game we're playing with Smith. And his family are sitting around watching him do this. and all of his friends are like encouraging him. And now they're starting to give a little bit of pushback. But that's the reason Smith is continuing, right? If it's not just to keep his ESPN job and his Believe You Me job, it's basically to, you know, essentially have a chance at being the world champ once in his life. And I get that. I get why he would want that. It must be a real great feeling. But no one in there ever, no elite level fighter ever in their life at light heavyweight is going to say that the problem and the reason why they lost to Roman Dolidze is because he just was so heavy on top. A middleweight moving up on like a few days' notice. Didn't even bulk up to light heavyweight size. Just a non-weight cutted middleweight, pretty much. He was just so heavy. He was just being so heavy on top of me. That's not going to be a problem for elite level fighters. That's the difference. That's what we're talking about here. And then you see other things that he said there as well. He's an elite level grappler. Roman Dolidze is, if you shoot a takedown on him. I don't think I've ever seen Roman Dolidze complete a good, solid takedown that has led to anything impactful on the ground happening for him on top position. Maybe when he fought like John Allen Arte or some shit, or I feel like everyone else has just ended up in his guard and been like tangled up in some weird way. It's a sign, Smith. Just stop, man.
And I could have just sat there and conserved that energy, but that's not me, and that's not what people want to see. I gotta try to get back to my feet. But
that's exactly what he did. And Bisping is watching this. Maybe I should have put my face here the whole time. Now, Bisping is watching this. And he knows that that's what he watched Anthony Smith do. Turtle up in round 2, get 2-on-1 wrist control so he can't be finished by like some vicious ground and pound, and stall out the round until the end, pretty much. That's what Anthony Smith did. And he's just said there, that's just not who I am. It's what he did against Ankalaev. It's what he did against Glover. It's what he did against Rakic. How many times, even against Walker in their fight, he was huddled on the ground, not getting back up, tucked up, making sure he can't get finished. It's what he did against John Jones. I mean, that's just off the top of my head. I've given you like 5 or 6 examples. Even against Ryan Spann in round 2, he just laid there on the ground after being hurt on the feet. He got hurt on the feet, I get it, but still. The audacity to say that's just not who I am, when that's literally who Smith is insane to me.
Yeah, it sucks, man. Like career trajectory wise, I don't know, that might have put the nail in the coffin on getting a title, you know?
It's really sad. It is kind of sad, and I do feel bad for Smith. Because I know he's a real human with real emotions, and, you know, I should view him as a real human with real emotions and not just a set of pixels on my screen I have no empathy towards. You know, I get that. But, God, he's delusional. You know, I'm sorry. It is a tough video to make in it because he is obviously in a sour mood. But it's just, I want to get, like, I love taking a deep dive on some of these fighters' like their mental game, like where they at, how they think about the sport that they're in, how they think about their wins and losses. And to me, it's just so obvious. It's so obvious, the difference. I could listen to interviews of fighters and pick out who's currently this level and who's not, and who's washed up and who's not. It's insane.
The reward is worth the sacrifice, right? And
he's talking about putting in like effort, leaving his family, his wife and kids to go and train.
I don't know that I feel like that so much anymore. Like, I don't know that it's worth it. If the money's great, but I got plenty of it. And I got a lot of other things I can do, you know, to make money. Yeah. And like the time away from my family is getting hard. And
so like, and don't be offended when I say this. This is just something, when I hear people say that about the time away from the family, like I see fighters are like, oh, and I missed a birthday and this and that. I feel like saying, shut the fuck up. Okay, so what, you missed a birthday. Do you know why you missed a birthday? It's because you're off trying to provide a great lifestyle. You're trying to build something. You're trying to build potentially generational wealth. You're trying to provide for your family first and foremost. And so what if you miss a birthday? They're not even going to remember.
And this is why Bisping got the belt. You know, this is why. It's not like, oh, I'm just not feeling it anymore because I'm being taken away from my family. Like, that is a sacrifice Bisping was signed up for. Bisping had kids to start his career pretty much, right? He had kids very young. They were pretty much adults while he was still competing in the UFC or just like shortly afterwards. Like, he had kids very young in his career. So this is something Bisping signed up for, like, before his career even got going. Like, on the grassroots level, Bisping was willing to make the sacrifice for regional level MMA fights. That's how committed he was to it. And this is the different mentalities that we're seeing here between the two of them. There's more.
Again, that's not necessarily directed at you. It's when I see
it was directed. He went on a big tangent there for a second, trashing fighters that do this and that, and it was directed at Smith pretty much. But he's trying to keep the peace, you know.
When I see a lot of people say that these days,
well, I see the same thing, which I've done and never complained about for the last almost 18 years.
Smith just said he's done and never complained about missing birthday parties, missing out on family moments. He just did complain about it. And this is the issue that we're running into here. There's a real problem with just understanding the reality of what's going on. And that is what's the problem with Anthony Smith. There is no reality in his head. There is none. There's nothing up here that is telling him the realness of the situation. And this is why we need Bispings and Dillashaws to maybe not say it as violently as they are, or as violent as Harry Hardwick said it, but still say it in a way that's going to encourage Smith to wrap it up, man. He's had a lot of losses. We don't need to see this old man get taught the lesson for the 5th time in the past 3 years that he's not even top 10 level. It really is frustrating to watch as an MMA fan sometimes. We move on even more. There's so much more.
I still want to fight. I just don't know how many are left. And if that means I have some fun ones and just do it because I love doing it with no pressure on myself and just fight my ass off and go, I don't know. I have no idea. But I'm still trying to digest it.
I'm not trying to ambush you here, Anthony, and please don't make it seem, hope it doesn't feel like that. But you said there, take some fun ones. And when we text, you said, I've got to get back to having fun. I hate that.
Having some, like, it's the two contrasting opinions of Anthony Smith. When he's coming off a win against someone not like barely ranked that handed it to him, it's, I'm committed, I'm going to become a world champion. But when he loses, I was just taking a couple fun ones, you know? I was just taking a fun one, you know, just stepping in, short notice. So it's almost like his enthusiasm and attitude towards a fight in the first place just so happens to directly correlate with the result of the fight. And you can call that coping if you want, because you would be right to do it. So I was trying to think of a smart way around that, but you would be right to call it. It is fucking coping. It's ultimate cope beyond the regular amount that you should have in a day. This is Joe Pyfer levels, but more.
There's not fun ones. It shouldn't be fun.
They're all just do it because I love doing it with no pressure on myself and just fight my.
What just happened there?
My ass off and
here we go.
I don't know.
And when we text, she said, "I've got to get back to fun."
They're all.
This
fun.
It's not about having fun. It's not a fun experience when you're on the floor and Roman Dolidze is pounding your face.
Yeah, no.
Not a fun experience when you're going home and you're depressed and all the rest of it. It's not fun when you go home and you're black and blue and could have surgeries in your neck or you're losing an eye. It's not a fun game. It's a very, very serious game. It's the most serious game on the planet. You know what I'm saying? It's not about having fun. Yes, it's
true. It's true. Bisping's really being he's keeping it real with him here. This is based Bisping. Normally Bisping's a bit of a, company man, keep everything good, path of least resistance type of take that he has on things. But this is the take of a man who actually cares for Anthony Smith's well-being, as far as I'm concerned.
There until Wednesday night. Because I think it's impossible.
Oh, this is him talking about he tries to get to the event as late as he possibly can and as close to the fight as he possibly can.
I didn't get there until Wednesday night. Because I don't want to be there. It's not that I don't want to be there for the fight. It's I hate the bullshit around it. I hate the media and the cameras and
it's so weird to hear this. And again, this is the cope that it comes down to. When he loses, all of a sudden he hates all of the. You are a man who volunteers your time to be on the Believe in Me podcast. Fair play, you probably get paid for it as well, but still, you are putting yourself in the media spotlight. This is like Tony Bellew. I don't know if anyone else is from the UK. Tony Bellew saying, "You'll never see me again, Cougs." If anyone remembers that. Tony Bellew, UK British boxer, said he wanted to get away from the spotlight. He said, "You'll never see this face again, Cougs." And he's literally been on like a bare bones survival show. I'm a celebrity. And people were quoting him saying, "You'll never see this face on TV again." And he's in the jungle fucking battling for his worms for dinner. You know what I mean? But Anthony Smith is a guy who's saying like he hates the media, hates this. Conveniently, that's just all these things that we've just now heard about Anthony Smith and the way he feels about it because he just lost. When other than that, he's on the analyst desk. If you hate the cameras and hate the TV work side of things, you're doing it. And I think Anthony Smith is fighting so he can do that, in all honesty, because I don't see them keeping him around if he wasn't an active participant in the UFC. And in all honesty, I think the UFC feels bad about the Jones knee, and they're so thankful for him not ruining Jones's entire legacy from it, that now this is them sort of giving back a little bit.
It all just feels so fake to me. And it used to be so real and like this is what it is. And now it's like I just don't want to do it. Like I want to show up Friday morning, weigh in, go to sleep, wake up Saturday and fight. Like I just want to do that part of it. But that's not how this game works.
But you don't get that part.
No.
Unless you do the grind. Nobody wants to do the grind. Nobody wants to.
I used to though. I used to.
Well, I know. Therein lies the problem though, Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm not trying to turn this into a whole.
So Anthony Smith has given the problem in his own mind. Then he's made it so that Bisping is like, well, there's the problem. And then Smith's like, I guess you're right. That is why I'm not world champ. This is such cope. It fucking infuriates me sometimes to see people with this mentality. The smoke and mirrors, the obstacle course that a fighter will go through mentally to say anything but, I can't fucking deal with low kicks. I have no boxing, barely any power in my hands, barely any power in my kicks whatsoever. I have no offensive takedowns. I can only get submissions when people dive into them against me. This is the most long way round I've heard of saying that ever. I guess it's just because I, don't enjoy the media anymore, Yeah, that is the problem. Yeah, I guess that's the problem. This is why, it'd be great. I'm sorry. I'm going so hard on Smith. 15-30. Maybe I shouldn't go this hard on him, but it's fun.
Yeah, then that's an issue.
Yeah, in parts is what you said is right. Like, it's so like minute part of the, like, it's so specific. Like, I don't mind, like, there's always going to be days you don't feel like going. That's just part of it.
Of course.
It's not the training that I mind. It like, I think this is going to sound crazy. For whatever reason, I've become so introverted that I don't really want to talk to anybody.
So it's because he's an introvert. That's the problem, guys. This is why the people are retarded. This is the problem with democracy. Like Smith can vote, like this is. I can only imagine the mental exhaustion his wife, if she is a conscious-brained human that is objectively looking at his career, and this is what she has to listen to, I would lose my fucking mind, I think. It is just such a long and torturous journey to not accepting that you're just not technically good enough. You're not going to land a head kick KO. You're not. You're just not going to ever do that as a striker. You're not going to pop 1-2, move out the way, fade away, sleep a guy with a counter as he rushes in. You've never done it, and you'll never be able to. You've never ragdolled an opponent. Ragdolled him, just chucked him around all over the place. They didn't stand a chance. You've never athletically scrambled out of a takedown. And these things will never happen. Stop deluding yourself into brain damage for eternity. Because he starts talking about, 2 to 3 years left, maybe. Like, no, call it quits, man. This is a humiliation ritual.
Like, and it's making me a bad teammate. Like, not that I'm mean or that I beat the shit out of people or whatever. Like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, I don't know what happened in the last couple years, but I've just, like, this is going to sound like the most bougie shit in the world, but I have a gym here in the house, in the basement. I've never been the type of person that wants to work out at home. And then I got the sauna, and now I got the cold plunge, and then the pool. I'm just doing everything so that I don't have to leave.
You know what is crazy to me? If he had beaten Roman Dolidze, and this is the craziest part to me, not even if he had beaten Roman Dolidze. Let me just say that. If he had triangled beaten him, but not like dominantly. Let's say he triangled Dolidze in that third round at some point. Dolidze put himself in a triangle, Paul Craig, Ankalaev style, gets submitted. We would hear none of this. Do you know that? We'd hear absolutely none of this. It'd be all about how he matches up with Pereira, what he's going to work on, how he's been feeling better in the gym recently, and that's why he can take these short notice fights. I was listening to Uriah Hall on the Jackson podcast recently, and he was waffling bullshit about why he was never champion. Like, he just felt like I could never pull the trigger sometimes. And it's just, it's such a lame thing to listen to sometimes, especially when we've had to listen to Smith talk about how he's Pereira level and he's elite level and he could be world champ on any given night. And it's just, interesting to hear.
Not going to get you're just going to keep repeating these cycles. Yeah, you might win a couple here and there, but as you say, if you want to be a champion, I don't want
to flounder.
Grinding.
Yeah, I don't want to flounder. I don't want to flounder, and I don't want to do this. I don't want to do the next 2 years of win one, lose one, win two, lose one. I don't want to do that. Like,
yeah, but
that's I don't know what this guy think he is. This isn't Usman after his title reign saying, I don't want to be the guy that's just, becoming a 2-1, contender where he wins one, loses two, wins two. I don't want to be that guy. If Usman was saying that, I'd be like, I get it. You don't want to beat that guy. I get it. You don't want to be that guy. Anthony Smith, you are that guy. That is all you have been. I'm sorry. Outside of the epic streak against Shogun Rua and Volkan Ozdemir that got him a title shot, other than that epic streak that he went on, and who could forget his epic finish of Hector Lombard, that fucking literally overgrown flyweight. But still, and no one is telling Smith reality. No one is telling him the truth around him. Or he's just retardedly doing his pre-programmed scripted lines ahead of whatever they're going to say anyway, and this is just the Smith that we're going to hear from for the rest of his career. It's so insane to me listening to this. I don't want to be that guy. Who are you? Sorry, you're not a dominant champ. You are this guy. I'm not trying to be the guy who just wins one, loses one for the next 2 years. That's not me. I guess the last 3 years haven't existed then, Smith, because that is literally all you've been doing.
Sometimes you got to do that. I did that for a period of about 3 years.
But I want it to have an end. Like, I don't want to feel like this is where I'm just going to live, because if that's what it is till the end, I don't want to do it.
I used to train Michelle Strickland.
And that's what it is. Smith expects this run to the title, and he's talking like someone who's seen it all, done it all, beaten every type. And now he's just at the end of his epic legacy run that he had as a champion. And there's delusion all over the place. That's why I wanted to make a video on today. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle Pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye. It's just, the delusion is insane on some fighters. And it's a real problem in MMA. It really is. No one's telling these guys reality. All these people, and this is what I'll say. This is the last thing I'm going to say in this video. And this is why I feel like I have a right to start calling out the mentality of these people. These fighters like Anthony Smith, after all you've heard in today's video, he pays money to a sports psychologist. I bet you he does. And this is still the result of his mindset towards the game. It's insane. See you later. Fighters will literally say anything ever to admit that they're not good, to not have to admit that they're not good enough. See you later. Goodbye. So I made a take during UFC 312's co-main event of Tatiana Suarez versus Zhang Weili, where Tatiana Suarez, with her superior wrestling credentials, could not implement wrestling to beat or in any way be effective against Zhang Weili, therefore losing her chance at the World Championship and losing the fight. Now, there have been many responses to this take. Chael Sonnen and DC, Daniel Cormier himself, responded to this on ESPN MMA on their new show, and the recent episode of their new show called The Emotional Wrong Guy and the Bad Guy. By the end of the video, I'm going to give you guys a chance to guess which one is which once we go through the counter argument of Mr. Daniel Cormier here. Okay? Also, Bo Nichols calling me out for this take. Also, I just spoke with Demetrius Johnson, the natty goat himself, about this take on Demetrius Johnson's podcast. And let's just say I've got some reinforcements for my claim. And I may have some reinforcements within the very show of The Emotional Wrong Guy and the Bad Guy on ESPN MMA. Check it out if you wish. I made this take. That's what we're going to go through. I said, I'm not trusting USA wrestling credentials anymore. I've been gaslit for years by the likes of Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen. Played them like a fucking violin, boys. Okay? Made sure to chuck both their names in there. You know how it goes. I'm a genius at this thing, you know? I've been gaslit for years by the likes of Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen about these monsters at wrestling. And I had, of course, hashtagged UFC 312. They all get shucked off by the first athletic person with zero background that they run into. Zhang beats Suarez. Now, I was speaking in extremes, but I have a point, okay? And my point is, when I see wrestling credentials on a resume, on a US fighter, I used to, back in the day, fear that. Oh my God, this guy's a national champ. He's going to run through the division. In the modern era of MMA, if I see national champ, if I see Hodge Trophy this, if I see some like references to some kind of wrestling credentials that they have and they went through the whole system over there in America, I'm starting to notice that these guys aren't as much of a formidable threat in MMA anymore. Nowhere near what they used to be, okay? And they're starting to get figured out and shut down by people who don't have that background. That's my take. People who have a wrestling background should be able to implement wrestling in an MMA fight against someone who didn't have that. Daniel Cormier disagrees. Chael Sonnen agrees. We're going to let them say their point. Daniel Cormier reads out a very, very conveniently small amount of my tweet that I put out.
So, MMA Guru, who I really don't know who that is, but the way that Air said it to me today, it means that this person's somebody.
I don't know who MMA Guru is. Are we pretending again, Daniel? Is that what we're doing? Are we pretending again? I don't know who MMA Guru is. I mean, I'm not trying to be egotistical here to kick things off. Okay? But I said, are we pretending against DC? I know you watched this entire saga about John Jones with a hot box of Popeye's chicken on your lap in your dimly lit lounge after your wife went up to bed and the coast was clear. Maybe I'm wrong on this, okay? Maybe I am. But even still, and I like that DC had to chuck out that he had no idea who I was.
But the way that Air said it to me today, it means that this person's somebody.
It's good to know that I'm on the minds of UFC staff members. Okay? I'm glad I'm a somebody to the UFC staff members that are putting out these ideas for what's going to be on the show. It's all good.
Because she goes, did you see what MMA Guru said? And I'm like, well, I have no idea who MMA Guru is.
That's it, Chael. Laugh along. I know Chael knows I'm a somebody. Okay? That's the laugh. Oh, he's a somebody, all right. That's what that laugh translated to me, Chael. Okay? Either way.
She goes, did you see what MMA Guru said? And I'm like, well, I have no idea who MMA Guru is, but okay. She said, MMA Guru said, not trusting Chael or DC. He called both of us out and he said, I'm not trusting USA Wrestling credentials anymore. I've been gaslit for years by the likes of Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen about these monsters that wrestle. To MMA Guru, what do you have to say?
I think DC's expecting Chael to be like, this MMA Guru guy is a fool and an idiot. How dare he come at our precious wrestling? Okay? And before I get into what they got, that has been a trend. I don't know if you guys are noticing the cope of the wrestlers, where they're starting to score rounds certain ways because someone got a takedown. I remember Cejudo being out there saying Covington could have been ahead in the Buckley fight. You know what I mean? You'll see some takes out there where they're really eager to score a round towards a guy who did no damage but happened to get a few takedowns and is a wrestler. So there's a bit of sensitivity, let's just say, because I think they're noticing it as well. And what does Chael have to say? Does he notice?
Well, Daniel, to a degree, I've been surprised myself. I mean, in all fairness, back from 1993.
Not the response DC was looking for. Just a few words from Chael Sonnen, and you can tell immediately not the response DC was hoping for in defense of his precious wrestling in MMA. Okay? Within frames, the expression has changed. All good, though.
Daniel, to a degree, I've been surprised myself. I mean, in all fairness, back from 1993 on, there's been major dominance in wrestling. Mark Kerr with a purple belt went into Abu Dhabi and ran through that division so easily, they banned Mark Kerr and banned other of our top guys from entering. We went without representation at Abu Dhabi for over 10 years, and they even changed the process to qualifiers and other things just to exclude a wrestler from walking in with no experience and dominating the field.
I can't speak to all that, but I know exactly where Chael's coming from here. There used to be a fear. If you heard this guy, he wrestled for a long time through school. He's a national champ. He went to nationals. He won a state this. He won a state that in wrestling. It used to be this thing where, well, I'll see that guy in the top 5 in about 2 years. He's about to ragdoll this fucking karate instructor. You know what I mean? That's what it used to be in MMA. Oh, Jesus Christ. This poor fucking Kung Fu guy is going to get fucking chucked around by this fucking high school wrestler over here. There used to be an aura to them. But nowadays, I don't know if I can trust him to get through the Contender Series sometimes. You know, Dylan Budka's an example of this. He had these credentials in wrestling and this, and they aren't the greatest of credentials, don't get me wrong. It's not like he's won Olympic this and Olympic that. I'm not saying that. But I look at credentials and I'm seeing, well, this random Brazilian athlete has completely shut down his grappling game. He's been doing MMA for 4 years. You've been wrestling since you were a child. You can't ragdoll him to the ground. There's a problem here, okay? And it needs to be fixed. But Chael speaks on it. There used to be a different vibe around the idea of a wrestler with some kind of wrestling credential being a part of the competition. There used to be a fear of it. They used to be revered. You know what I mean? But now it doesn't feel that way.
In the UFC, right now, we do not have an NCAA wrestler in the heavyweight class. I did not just say an Olympian. I did not say a world medalist. I did not say an All-American. We do not have a heavyweight. When Stipe retired, that was the last of the heavyweights. Prior to that, there was a guy named Daniel Cormier. We do not have a single NCAA wrestler, not just in the top 10 or top 15. We do not have one under contract with the Ultimate Fighting Championship. So where have our wrestlers gone? David Taylor, there was some rumors that he was going to be coming out. David Taylor might be joining us for a couple of days on Tough, Daniel. But David Taylor took the job at Oklahoma State. Kyle Dake would be a great one to transfer over. Chance Marsteller, Jordan Burroughs.
I'm sure they would. All of these great names in wrestling that have achieved the great things and are the peak of the peak when it comes to wrestling, I'm sure they would do better. Don't get me wrong. I know Chael's going to have his take and he's not going to absolutely tie every point that he's going to make over the next few minutes to exactly what my point was. I get it. But I'm not just talking about, it's because they aren't here anymore in MMA. Okay? That's not my actual take. It's just I'm genuinely curious how when I see that someone's been doing something for a past decade, they can't implement that on someone who's been picking it up along the way. We keep seeing that. We keep on seeing that in the sport where this guy, he wrestled through high school and college and he won this little tournament and he went to nationals and he did this and that and this. And I'm like, well, okay, what did this guy do in wrestling? Oh, he was an alcoholic kid on the street and he kind of liked to scrap. So at 21 years old, he got into MMA and he's kind of athletic. Oh, the wrestler can't take him down because the guy worked on wrist control and underhooks and backing himself up against a cage and using it to help him. That's all it took. It seems to be a more common occurrence. But I get that Chael was saying that wrestling itself has become such a big thing that the end goal for these wrestlers isn't, well, if I want to make any real money out of these skills that I'm learning, I'm going to take this to a fight. You know what I mean? Nowadays, it's, I can go further with this. I can compete in wrestling further. I can make a career out of this without having to look elsewhere in terms of where I want this career to go once I've learned these skills. You know, they would go to WWE or they would go to the UFC. Nowadays, they're staying put a little bit more. Either way.
But the truth is, whether they be great or not, they're not doing it. Anthony Kazar, who beat Gable Steveson, had 2 matches and he retired. So for MMA Guru to call that out, I will tell you, it has been slow for me to learn this. But the fact that a wrestler used to come and do it, we just don't live in that game anymore. It is such a complete style now. It is not something where you can get through college and then start picking up some boxing lessons on the side and you're good enough for the octagon.
True. And that's my point. And that's the point I'm making. It used to be. This isn't even a hot take to be discussed. I mean, I don't know. I think DC, if you want to get my honest opinion here, if I wanted to see through all of this, DC knows your boy, okay? He doesn't like me for whatever not anyone does. I get it, okay? No one does. Some people tolerate me. Not really anyone likes me, to be honest with you. So I'm used to it by now. But I think DC knows he doesn't like me. So this is his big slam dunk moment. A wrong take that I can defend against. But it really isn't a wrong take. They aren't formidable anymore. You know? We're seeing guys shuck these people off. Rinya Nakamura, all of these wrestling credentials out of Japan. Have you seen a clip of Habib ominously talking about the wrestling structure in Japan and the way they're doing and the way they're competing on the Olympic stage? We just saw Rinya Nakamura just get shucked off by Muin Gafurov, who, don't get me wrong, has a bit of a background, but not the same level. I just feel like wrestling is sort of becoming a especially in the US, and, you know, I know I just mentioned Japanese guy, but especially westernized wrestling, it seems to become not as much of a reliant force to carry you through to the top of the sport anymore. You just can't do that anymore. And even Bo Nickel not shooting on Paul Craig. I knew Chael Sonnen, by the way, was going to defend this take that I made, because I know Chael Sonnen has been making this same take, okay? I don't know if you've seen Bo Nickel confuses Chael Sonnen, but it was just him absolutely flabbergasted at the idea that Bo Nickel, who has all of these like, we're talking elite of the elite level wrestler, doing it from a very, very young age. I don't know how many wrestling matches he had before the age of 10, but I remember Masvidal once said something about it on a podcast. But it's just him basically marveling at the fact that Bo Nickel did not use his most effective tool against Paul Craig. And we're going to get into some things Bo Nickel said, because some of my fans have been going at him on Twitter and he's made some responses. But keep it up.
God, that was true at one point. But if Guru is just arguing that these hard, gritty, tough wrestlers isn't enough, he wins this argument. I thought it was, but he does win this argument. Wrestling is not enough, not by itself.
He's wrong, Chael. He's wrong.
Go on.
How am I wrong, DC? You're angry. He's wrong. No, he's wrong, Chael. He's wrong. I'm not. That shit ain't enough anymore. Okay? I can't trust that anymore. You know? I really can't. I can't trust it. I can't use it. I've been trying to use it for my predictions. I made a prediction on Dylan Budka. And I'm not saying he's elite of the elite. Don't get me wrong. But I've made predictions before where this wrestling guy who has a wrestling background is going in there against a guy, and I'm looking through his early life and some of the things that they've wrote about him on his article on ESPN as a newcomer to the UFC. Maybe a local news page has put something up about him, and within it, they've listed his sort of martial arts history. And I'm seeing, okay, this guy's story is that he's a drunk. He needed something to motivate him after school. He didn't really have anything, and he's picked it up. And those guys are just becoming more and more able to completely nullify some guy who's been wrestling for a decade longer than them. And that's a problem that they need to think about moving forward when it comes to transitioning these wrestlers from the US and from other parts of the world as well. Not from the Caucasus, though. That's another point I've had. If you're not from the Caucasus, I don't really want to hear about it. Okay, that was another major part of this. If I see someone from the Caucasus and I say they've got a wrestling background and they're from that region, I think, oh shit, this guy's fucking, well, someone's going to beat him. And I may hate on them, you know what I mean? Because I'm rooting for the boys over this side of the hemisphere, if you know what I'm saying. But either way, I'm looking at him and I'm like, God, this guy's probably going to make it to the top with the credentials that he has. I look on the other side. I look over the Atlantic. I see some kind of prospect, high school this, national comp this, state competition this trophy, that trophy. Yeah, I just watched you fucking put your head against someone's leg on the Contender Series for 3 rounds and get out damaged and lose. You know? It's a problem. But DC says I'm wrong on this take. And we'll get into why DC thinks I'm wrong. Take it away, Daniel Cormier. Let me just capture his aggression once more as his face of absolute disappointment grows.
He wins this argument. I thought it was, but he does win this argument. Wrestling is not enough, not by itself.
He's wrong, Chill. He's wrong. Just because the best guys aren't coming anymore doesn't mean that wrestling doesn't work. Hell,
let him go.
We're still living in a world right now, Chill. We're living in a world right now where John Jones's background, wrestling. Sure, he was a junior college national champion, but he's a wrestler.
I like how he's listed that as someone who's very, very effectively utilized grappling in MMA. And actually is someone with a lower level of wrestling credentials, which I completely understand he may have to take. Well, if even John Jones can make it, but John Jones is a specific outlier in this situation. But I'm glad that for now, Daniel Cormier has proved me wrong. By the way, by listing someone who's been a part of the older generation and is still clinging on by a thread in the current generation, in my opinion, which isn't, I'm talking about the newcomers, the new waves that we're seeing get shucked off before they even get to the belt. Jones has been around for the past 10 years, Daniel. You know what I mean? And he stayed on top. That's John Jones. Okay. There's many reasons for that I can get into in many other videos that I've already made. But John Jones is from, I'm not talking about Jones right now. I'm talking about the modern prospects in MMA. Who's rising to the top? Who's getting through the regional scene fastest? Who's making it through the Contender Series in the most dominant fashion? Who's making it through the rankings? Who's making it through the unranked areas of the sport? You know? The wrestlers don't seem to be as formidable anymore. But I'm glad that he listed a USA example to begin with.
At 155, Islam Makhachev's background is combat sambo. And what else? Wrestling. Ilya Topuria. He's a wrestler. These guys are wrestlers. I mean,
I don't know if you can see my mouse on the screen. USA. Daniel. You do not disprove me by listing a bunch of Caucasus lot and saying, look how successful these guys have been. Next thing you know, he'll be listing Marab.
I mean, Marab Dawalish, really.
So, my point is, Daniel, you're very quick to want to disagree with me here, DC. Okay? Can't trust USA wrestling credentials. And to prove me wrong, aside from John Jones, who's part of an older era where that was way more successful and was one of the guys that was proving wrestling credentials to be a factor on his own rise to the top of his division, is the only example you have. And then to prove me wrong further about not being able to trust USA wrestling credentials, who did you list?
Sure, he was a junior college national champion, but he's a wrestler.
Who did you list?
At 155, Islam Makhachev's background is combat sambo. And what else? Wrestling.
Russian, Dagestan, not from the USA.
Ilya Topuria, he's a wrestler.
Georgian. You know? The Georgian, not from the USA. Trained in Spain. All good.
These guys are wrestlers. I mean, Marab Dawalishvili, what does Marab do? Wrestling.
From Georgia, from the Caucasus. Again, they're doing something better than you when it comes to being able to implement grappling, period, in MMA. Grappling effectiveness, wrestling prowess, being able to dominate someone in the grappling department of a fight. They're doing something better than the US prospects. They just are. And before you want to tell me, well, they're best, they're sending their best. They aren't, first of all, because their best are winning gold medals. Okay. But if you want to say, they're sending a better caliber, you're getting the bottom feeders of the US wrestling chain. The bottom feeders over there are still able to implement, some guy who's never really won anything over there that, doesn't really have too much of a background. They're still able to implement their game in MMA a lot better than some of these US prospects are. So disproving that I can't trust USA wrestling credentials as much as I used to be able to at all, night and day different. You do not disprove that by listing me a bunch of people from the Caucasus that are implementing their wrestling game effectively. I mean, I don't know how angry I've made you, but this is not a counterpoint to my point, at least.
I've listed you 4 of the 7 champions now.
And 3 of them weren't from the USA. And the other guy was from a different era when he first rose to the top. And he's barely fought over the past however many years. And John Jones couldn't take down Dominic Reyes. It's all good, though. He did get him down, but he didn't keep him there. He didn't dominate him there. He didn't get him down nearly as much as he wanted to. Just saying.
That their entire background. Hell, Bilal Muhammad, wrestler.
But Daniel, stay on this. Tell me why Tatiana Suarez, who has
Let me move out of the way so Chael can fucking speak some sense into DC right here.
Oh, Bilal Muhammad, wrestler.
But Daniel, stay on this. Tell me why Tatiana Suarez, who has a world medal, the highest ranking wrestler, couldn't take down a girl that's never had a wrestling match.
And that's real. And you need to take that energy. And I know that Chael has been building this kind of resentment for there's different ways that you can cope with the idea of American wrestlers not dominating as they used to. And these two actually represent the complete different ends of the spectrum. You can cope like DC and cope about it and be angry about it, but cope about it and defend that actually there isn't a problem. Or you can be like Chael and have your biases towards that type of style and want that type of build up of a fighter, that type of foundation to succeed in combat more than others because you also went through those same foundations. And you can be angry that it no longer is and want it to improve and want to see more of it and want it to be better suited for MMA. That's what Chael represents. But I think DC is somewhat representing you attacked my wrestling. It's the best. There is no problem with it. So Chael's asking, rightfully so, why did Tatiana Suarez, who's wrestled so many times, who I think was on her way to the Olympics where she was kind of favored as a real monster in the scene. Why did Tatiana Suarez not effectively out-grapple or wrestle against just an athlete in Zhang Weili who hasn't wrestled in her past? It's because MMA is moving on beyond wrestling being a formidable threat that can carry you to the top. It's not good enough anymore. And that's my take. But we'll see what DC responds to that take from Chael about Tatiana Suarez and Zhang Weili.
Weili's never even had a match.
So the Hickman brothers out in Muay Thai Bang Tao, those guys are really good coaches. And they taught Weili how to wrestle offensively. That's the key, Chael. I had a crazy argument with Michael Bisping about this the other day.
I'll go through that argument as well, by the way. They taught Zhang Weili how to offensively wrestle. That's why Tatiana Suarez wasn't out wrestling her. As if, DC, all of these US schools and wrestling programs just didn't fucking think about that. Just happened to slip their minds to tell Tatiana Suarez how to wrestle offensively. The reason she couldn't get takedowns on Zhang Weili is because 2 guys in Thailand at a Muay Thai gym have taught Zhang Weili effective grappling for MMA in a few years better than Tatiana Suarez's life of wrestling has taught her? You have perfectly illustrated, DC, accidentally, my exact point on this topic. It's all good, though.
I believe that if you want to wrestle effectively in the octagon, and I did this at AK, you got to learn to actually wrestle. Joe, you know what I would do with those guys when I was coaching the wrestling there? We would do top and bottom. I'd have Khabib riding. Like, I'd make Khabib get on top of somebody in the referee's position. Because if you can learn to wrestle and you can learn to ride and you can learn to take down people offensively, you learn to take them down defensively, you learn all those little details in the middle that you don't.
You can beat someone who's had a lifetime of doing it. If you just learn those few things that we can pick up on and teach you in an MMA gym, if you just learn these few things, you can shut down a Tatiana Suarez who is headed for the Olympics. Is that how things should be, DC? Or is there not a glaring problem to you there?
I don't get when you go, I'm starting MMA, I want to make sure I know how to defend takedowns. It doesn't work like that. You got to know how to do it all. Zhang Weili does. Zhang Weili's learning wrestling, not just mixed martial arts wrestling. So, yes.
And she's learning it in Thailand at Tiger Muay Thai and is being able to implement it more effectively than someone who has had it ingrained into them since they were a child in the US wrestling credential system. All good.
Does feel like it's not as deep with wrestlers because at a time, 205 had myself, Phil Davis, Ryan Bader, Rashad Evans, John Jones, Glover Teixeira. We had like so many wrestlers, you and Mark Munoz, Weidman, just so many wrestlers around the top at those heavier weight classes that now that there aren't as many, it seems like the guys aren't there. They're just not at the heavier weights anymore because those guys are making more money in wrestling, so they're sticking around a little longer. Some are playing football like Stephen Neal did. So there are just like these great wrestlers that aren't coming to fighting as frequently as they used to. But I think MMA Guru's wrong. Sure, Tatiana struggled. But again, she wasn't. There was some simple things that she could have done to change what was happening.
I've got a lot to break down because I don't want to feel like, because he made a good point there. And I don't want to feel like I don't want it to feel like I'm skipping over and not breaking down, because he did make a point. There were a lot more around, and I mentioned this at the start of the video. They are now sticking around in the wrestling world a little longer, more than as soon as they get out of the system and the program, they start looking around. Where can I make money? I'll be a cage fighter. This fucking karate instructor that teaches women and children on a fucking Saturday evening thinks he can fucking fight. I'll chuck him around real quick. You know what I mean? But it's not the same. There are wrestlers that are coming over. There are a lot of people that are implementing that. And a lot of people going through the wrestling system in the USA that are going over to the UFC. Sure, the Olympians aren't. You know, sure, the guys that are like breaking records in wrestling and winning the highest of the highs aren't really making the transition anymore. The guys you listed before, you listed John Jones as an example. He's a junior champ, I think. I can't remember the exact name of his credential. I think he was a junior national. Like, he didn't reach the highest of the heights. So it's not the same example. It's not like back in the day you had so many gold medalists in the sport. They weren't. Even back then, there wasn't just gold medalist after gold medalist in the heavier divisions. There were some that I can't even fucking think of. But still, they weren't around. You had some lower level guys. So the lower level guys should still be able to implement the same thing, but they can't. They just can't do it. And I'm watching it over and over again throughout different divisions, lower divisions, especially nowadays. You know, fact is, even when it comes to the caucus fighters, how is O'Malley stuffing Aljamain Sterling's fight? Well, not the caucus. How did O'Malley stuff takedowns against Merab in the second and the fourth? You know what I mean? Or the first and the third, sorry. How did Aljo get his takedown stuffed by O'Malley? You know, it's just easier to deal with. It really is. And it needs to adjust, you know? These guys don't fear American wrestlers like they do when a Chimaev shows up on the other side of the octagon from them. When a Merab shows up on the other side of the octagon. Umar Nurmagomedov, Islam Makhachev, all of these guys from other parts of the world. They don't fear your US credentials like they do these guys. Even if the US guys have this many more trophies and won this many more tournaments and have wrestled this many more matches and have been doing it this many more years, often not the case with how long they've been doing it, but still, they will fear the other guys more because their style of grappling is more better implemented for an MMA fight. Simple as that.
She kept shooting double legs. Simple struggle.
Hold on.
But again, she wasn't. There were some simple things that she could have done to change what was happening.
About Tatiana Suarez, let's back to this point. That years of wrestling didn't teach her. There were just simple things she could have done that would have changed the way that fight went. That decades of wrestling has not taught her, DC. So decades of her own credentials aren't helping her, but you go into backstage and you tell her a few things to tweak within a minute-long session, she's going to change things right up.
She kept shooting double legs. You cannot shoot double legs anymore.
Why? Because I'm right. Because I'm correct, DC, man. Put your emotions to the side, brother. I've actually been good to DC throughout his career. I know I made a whole 30-minute documentary about him being fat. I get it. I get it, guys. I've made some videos, okay? But I've also made a ton of videos supporting DC and backing him up about the whole Jones drama and the way they were treating him during the build-up of Jones versus Miocic. I've actually had a ton of videos giving DC props and actually defending him in so many moments. But I guess I'm the wrong messenger to be correct. This is the problem. I'm the wrong messenger to be correct. And it's an ongoing theme. I feel like if an actual high-level wrestler like Jordan Burroughs would have a nuanced take like mine, that US wrestling in general and the systems that they have in place aren't as effective anymore in MMA as they used to be. And instead, other regions of the world have better systems where their wrestlers and grapplers can implement into MMA a lot better. I think DC would sit there and agree with him. But I am to be disagreed with because I am a cunt. And I get that. But I'm also correct. Okay? That two things can be right at the same time, guys. I'm a cunt, but God damn it, I'm right when I'm right. Okay?
You got to shoot double legs to switch off to a single leg if you want to take people down. Joe, everybody knows how to defend a double now. It's what you learn the first day you walk into an MMA gym.
Everyone knows how to defend a double leg now. You learn it the first day you step into an MMA gym. So quickly, a guy can pick up a way to deal with one of your main weapons. Problem, DC, it needs to be fixed, okay? If your style will continue in MMA, it must be fixed. And you just said why yourself.
You got to mix things up, and she didn't really mix things up, and that's why Wei Lee found so much success defending those takedowns. All right, wrestling. I don't want to get too much into this.
Because he's wrong.
Because now, if this guy comes over, Chael, we will have a heavyweight wrestler.
And they start listing Gable Stevenson. And yes, I do think he would be a factor at heavyweight. But listen, anyone who ain't got a fucking morbidly obese BMI as I burp up breakfast will be a threat in the heavyweight division. It's not the fucking best example to use. Okay? But either way, you know, Gable Stevenson, legendary guy, probably won't go to the UFC or MMA in general. He's probably going to do a lot of other things instead. But there you go. Gable Stevenson is an example of the peak that can maybe disprove something if he ends up going for a run in the UFC. But I have other takes to make, okay? Shout out to Chael. Chael's logical, okay? Chael's, you know, he's doing us proud, okay, on the front lines. What other takes do I have? So this was my overall tweet that I put out. Bo Nickel responded. That boy MMA Guru, come on my podcast, follows me, by the way. Thank you, Bo. I appreciate that, brother. That boy MMA Guru. Am I in the way? Of course I am. Right, there you go. That boy MMA Guru, come on my podcast and let me educate you on American wrestling, my brother. Again, I will not be disproved on this, okay? First of all, get a ranked win first, little bro. I'm not, we don't collab with losers. You know what I'm saying? I'm joking. But still, you won't defeat me on this point. And if I tell you this right now, Bo Nickel, I'm not coming on your podcast. Here's my absolute official deal to Bo Nickel. I ain't coming on your podcast, okay? So you can disprove me. How about this? Disprove me over the next few years, where we, of course, because you are correct, watch you run through the top of the middleweight division and ragdolled a lot of them. Disprove me, okay? By doing that. I've had a lot of people on Twitter going after Bo Nickel for this. Shut up, Bo. Nobody wants to come on your shitty pod. He's rolling. I like Bo Nickel. He's a cool dude. Some say bit too big for his boots in moments, but he's not a morally flawed guy. Okay, you have to adjust your hatred. There's annoyance and there's hatred, guys. You have to adjust your emotions to people based on who they actually are. He may have said a few things that were annoying. I don't think he's that bad. Second reason I'm not coming on the podcast. I ain't going nowhere Ariel Helwani's already been. Okay? Strike one. Either way. You get stopped by Chris Curtis. Interesting thought. I'll take that into consideration. Okay. Stop asking the UFC to give you super can opponents so we can actually see the wrestling. He's going back and forth with a few people. This is one. Ilonov, follower of my channel. Okay. Glazes all Australian fighters, but also Shavkat. Where do you lie about JDM? That's a confusing one. Either way. You made Paul Craig look like a decent striker and struggled to take down Pickett before you need him in the balls. That is true. I finished Pickett in round one easily and 30-27 Craig without taking damage. Try again. Both can be correct. Both can be correct. Okay? You didn't just Chimaev Jamie Pickett out there. That's not what happened. Okay? And then we have, dude, I can't tell if you're smart or just don't like me, which is, he's showing that Bo Nickel had to knee Jamie Pickett in the groin. I can't even play this because I'll probably get copyrighted it. But he did knee him in the balls to get him down. But this is all good, whatever. He's been going back and forth with some others. So far, you're in the UFC or MMA wrestling hasn't been very impressive and doesn't match your actual high-level wrestling credentials, which kind of proves his point. I haven't even had to wrestle anyone. Too easy. This also got responded to, by the way, with a few-second clip of Cody Brandage chucking him over in round 2. So I'm just saying, I like Bo Nickel. I think he's a cool dude. Back up, little bro. I'm right. Okay? And I know I'm right on this. Okay? And you, an elite, the fact that you, the elite of the elite, you got me doing Joe Rogan impressions. People forget, man. He won a Hodge fucking trophy. Either way. The elite of the elite. You're the one who's got to prove me wrong. That tells me I'm right. Okay? The fact that I'm making a general take about all credentials when it comes from the US, when it comes to wrestling. Only you, one of the best, you know, that they've got right now, the best candidate they've got. Only you can prove me wrong about all of them. And even then, it's looking a bit risky on whether or not you're going to be able to. So that's my deal to Bo. I ain't debating you about this on no podcast. Maybe I will. Who knows? I'll feel different tomorrow. Maybe. Who knows? Prove me wrong by ragdolling these middleweights. Don't go out there against Paul Craig because, Chael, I'm on your team about this. When I know someone's this and I hear Bo Nickel's got this in his arsenal and that, when it comes to grappling and wrestling in general, I want to see it. So you start showing us that in MMA, okay? That's how you're going to prove me wrong about this topic. Shout out to Bo Nickel, though. We're looking forward to whatever's next. Is it Paulo Costa? Question mark. How do I know? Either way. Daniel Cormier's heated about it. I spoke to Demetrius Johnson about this. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but I was on Demetrius Johnson's show. He invited me on his show recently, the GOAT, you know, the natty goat of the sport. He just got done inviting me on his show. And I actually brought this up to him. Okay? And it kind of got to the point where if you're not from the caucus, I don't want to hear about your wrestling credentials. You know? It really did.
Well,
it kind of has.
I can answer that question for you. Here's the reason why you're seeing a lot of, you know, I think back in the day when mixed martial arts was such in its infancy stage, you know, you had guys like Matt Hughes, Tito Ortiz, you know, John Jones, Daniel Cormier, guys who came up from wrestling. Wrestling was such a dominant sport that when you would fight people still their traditional stuff like, oh, I'm a kickboxer, or I'm a boxer, or I come from a striking background.
I'm a karate guy.
I'm a karate guy.
It was
right?
very different. Yeah.
Very different. Where now you're seeing a lot of people come from a background where they're well-rounded, where it's like you look at Wei Li versus Tatiana Suarez. Yeah, she's a better Suarez has a better wrestling credentials, but you look at the pure athleticism over Wei Li when she had that when Tatiana Suarez had that takedown at the very end, the later rounds, she was just keeping her balance, keeping a good posture, and then she was keeping her balance, and she couldn't finish it. Or you look at a guy like Henry Cejudo, Triple C, Olympic gold medalist, flyweight champion, bantamweight champion. When he fights Merab, I didn't think Merab was going to out wrestle him, but it's mixed martial arts. They're able to put it together where the guys like, Georgian wrestling, Dagestan wrestling, they've been doing it since they're 5-6 years old. When I started wrestling in high school. Now,
that being said, the Cejudo point is very good, isn't it? Olympian. Olympian. It shows you that just on wrestling credential alone does not dictate the grappling success of your MMA fight. It used to. It really did. Now and then a guy would get caught in a guillotine and not know what a triangle was. We get it. But it used to have this phase where you were like, oh, he's going to bulldoze this fucking jiu-jitsu bitch. But now it's different. We're seeing Cejudo not implement his game plan as strong. You
do have the guys like Bo Nickel who are left, but they're so one-dimensional, and Bo Nickel's still trying to learn how to fight. He can't get himself to the position where he can out-wrestle people as long as they keep that void from each other, right?
And by the way, you're going to see this as all DJ took a shot at Bo Nickel here. He's had Bo Nickel on the show. I think he went on Bo Nickel's show or had Bo Nickel on his show. And Bo Nickel admitted this. He had this same take said to him by DJ and he admitted to it. But you know what I mean? It really is about the messenger. And I'll make a fucking closing statement that really sums it all up. I guess it's just the messenger.
And that's why I think now in 2024, 2025, you see a guy, oh, he's a 2-time state divisional champion, NCAA, da-da-da-da. Look at Michael Chandler. I mean, he was a decent wrestler, but not blowing people out, but he doesn't wrestle anymore. And I think it's just you're seeing a lot more people be athletic and have a stronger background where you're not seeing that same caliber of wrestling when it was back in the early days of the UFC. And that's why I think what you're stating, like, I don't give a fuck what your wrestling pedigree is, unless you're coming from, Dagestan or Georgia or wherever, it don't fucking matter. And that's some truth to that. That's truth because
there is.
It's mixed martial arts wrestling. It's not wrestling.
You heard the GOAT. Check out Mighty Mouse on YouTube. Mighty is the name of the channel. He recently hit 1 million subscribers as well. He's taken off as an MMA fighter. And I want to say that maybe one of the reasons why Demetrius Johnson is taken off in this way online, because remember, Demetrius Johnson was painted out to be this unmarketable guy. And when you look at DJ's numbers compared to ESPN MMA's, with DC and Chael Sonnen on there, I'm not chucking Chael Sonnen under the bus with it, but it's mainly to counterpoint what DC is reacting to this like. Maybe one of the reasons is because DJ is open to the truth, no matter the fucking mouth that it comes from, to be honest with you. Okay? A point is a point. A correct point is a correct point. But there's a lot of fighters, and maybe DC is one of them, that will shun your opinion, right or wrong, because you aren't one of them. You aren't a fighter. And that's maybe why my channel took off in the first place, is because finally there was a guy who wasn't in this fighter community and brotherhood where they could say whatever they want and no one could critique them because I'm a fighter, I know more than you. It's not about that anymore. But I guess DC might be stuck in his own ways. And also on this podcast, I guess I'll give you a reason to go over there and watch it yourself. We then immediately get into talking about why Dagestanis and people from the Caucasus and those types of guys instead have better success implementing their wrestling and MMA compared to US guys. Little reason for you to go over there after I just used some of the footage. What else I got? This was an argument DC and Bisping just had before DC came out and had this take.
Cage wrestling in a mixed martial arts fight against the fence.
And that's what I was going to say. The fence,
nothing like actual wrestling on
That's what I mean by a small part of wrestling.
It doesn't exist. Like, Callum is a way better wrestler than me. I will pick him up and
Yeah, but here's
slam
the
him on
problem.
his ass.
Here's the problem.
And I've done it. And he's like, yeah, but that's that bullshit in a cage.
But
real wrestlers suck balls.
But here's the problem.
You
All
bring
gotta
any
do-
of those guys in a cage, unless they learn how to do it in a cage, I will fucking head kick
All
their
you gotta
head
do-
off. They're shit.
all
They
you gotta do-
suck.
Hey,
And that's
if
why
Michael-
most of them can't do
But he's a full
shit.
pro wrestler.
Look, all you gotta do. No, here's the. All you gotta
Wrestlers
do. This is
suck.
This is where people. This is where people struggle with that. Don't wrestle double legs. All these guys know how to defend double legs.
It's the great take. You just don't use double legs. They just don't work anymore. That's the cope. And listen, people in the comments are saying stuff like DC can see easy work, but is nice enough to let Bisping keep running his mouth. And, you know, DC would absolutely manhandle Bisping. Dude was ragdolling heavyweights in his prime, and they got gifts of him chucking over Gustafsson. That wasn't the argument, though. This is the problem. That wasn't the argument. You don't just go up the pecking order of who was a better fighter, so therefore their opinion's correct. It's all good, though. I guess I can end it there. I haven't really got much more to say on this topic. I think they're wrong. I think they're absolutely wrong on this. Not Chael. Chael seems to have, you know, agreed with my take in some way because they're annoyed at the reality in different directions. Chael Sonnen is annoyed by what he is seeing, and he wants to improve upon it. He wants someone to change it. He wants it to become great again. You know what I mean? I don't want to make a political message out of this, but still, Chael is under that mindset. It's not working out anymore. I hate this. Why isn't Bonical ragdolling Paul Craig anymore? You know, why isn't Bonical going out there and fucking blitz him through Cody Brandage in about 2 minutes like a Chimaev would? Why? And he wants to know how to fix that. And he's frustrated with that reality. DC is coping about the reality. And I'll have one closing statement here about this whole situation. Just because I don't know how to close this statement. Just because I'm a fat, ugly cunt retard on YouTube doesn't mean I'm wrong. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll end it on that statement. Okay? There you go. I can be correct sometimes, you guys. Don't have to wait until I make a hot take just to fucking get a chance to what? I guess your plan was to shame me on ESPN. Better luck next time, guys. Welcome to the YouTube algorithm, though. You know? See ya. Goodbye. On the recent episode of the Mighty Cast, Daniel Cormier and Demetrius Johnson discussed and debated at length my takes on MMA grappling, where I believe that USA wrestling credentials are meaning less and less and less and becoming less and less effective when it comes to translating into successful grappling in mixed martial arts, and more specifically in the UFC. Daniel Cormier is going to disagree with this take yet again. I made a video a while ago debating Daniel Cormier on this because Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen discussed this same topic on their very own show, and DC disagreed. You're wrong. He's wrong. He's wrong, Chael. That's what DC said over and over again in that original video, and Chael agreed with me. And now we're in the same position again. Demetrius Johnson agrees with my take. Daniel Cormier can't agree with it. And when I tell you that he can't agree with it, I'm not saying that he doesn't agree with my take. You'll see in today's video, because it's become majorly apparent to me, that it's not that he doesn't agree with my take, it's that he can't agree with it. Okay, so he will agree with my take, and he will completely understand it. However, he'll say I'm wrong. Okay, that's what we're in for. It's going to be a real roller coaster of a video, you guys, and it starts right now.
Pivot. You know, one of the friend of the show, MMA Guru, and I kind of believe him on this. He says, if you...
DJ agrees with me. Friend of the show, by the way, as well. I'm a friend of the show, you guys. I'm a pretty big deal, okay? But still, DJ agrees with me.
If you have wrestling, your wrestling pedigree is from America, I don't give a shit what it is. If you're coming from Caucasus, meaning like, you know, Dagestan, Georgia, the wrestling is better, right? And
wait.
I don't.
Immediately, DC has a problem, okay? Immediately, he has awoken from his slumber, and he has a problem with this take, okay? Now, I don't think this is a wrong take whatsoever. I don't know how DJ specifically worded this. Maybe he did so wrong. I'm going to give him one more time. But I don't know what in that statement was disagreeable to DC.
America, I don't give a shit what it is. If you're coming from Caucasus, meaning like, Dagestan, Georgia, the wrestling is better, right? And
wait.
I don't know.
Maybe DJ should have said for MMA at the end of it. But I think that's very obvious what we're discussing here, okay? Because you've debated this with me before, DC. You know my stance. Caucus grappling in general, whether it be Sambo or whether it be wrestling or, Ilya, anyone from that region of the world seems to do better with their grappling in MMA than the USA. And I'll go one further. Hamzat Chimaev was on the Swedish team in freestyle wrestling, I believe, and Bo Nickel mocked him for it as being such a rudimentary amount of experience and accolades, and he doesn't have any of these like titles or this or that, and he was actually mocking Hamzat Chimaev for it. Chimaev's one of the most dominant grapplers maybe in UFC history. He's really, really dominant with his grappling, whereas Bo Nickel, with all of these USA accolades, and all of these division this and NCAA this and a title of this and a state this and all of those things, he can't really get his grappling off the same way as Chimaev can in MMA. There is nothing wrong with that statement, but DC seems to disagree.
And Georgia, the wrestling is better, right? And
wait.
I don't know what he said for better.
What's better?
Because
I know, like MMA Guru, I don't really know who he is.
Yes,
loud and clear, DC. You don't know who I am. Now you've said that a few times. Once you've burned that once, you can't say it again. Okay? We've been here before. DC's he's brought up my take on his own show with Chael, thinking that Chael would agree with him. Chael didn't. And then it's I have no idea who this MMA Guru guy is, but here's this take that we have to discuss on the show. DC, listen, I hate to be egotistical about this. I think DC knows who I am. I think DC has heard of me, seeing as he has discussed a take of mine and debated it on his show before. I made a 300,000 view video about how fat you are. I know someone sent that to DC. I know DC at least got a glimpse of the thumbnail at some point on his recommended. But I'm not sure, though, of course. DC always never fails to mention that he has no idea who I am. Okay? And I'm a big fan of DC. I just noticed that. He seems to constantly have to mention he doesn't have any clue who that guy is.
Nobody
What's
said
better?
for better.
What's better?
Because
I know, like MMA Guru, I don't really know who he is.
Yes.
But I've heard his name come up a bunch.
Yeah.
Tell me what he said exactly.
If I see someone from the Caucasus and I say they've got a wrestling background and they're from that region, I'm looking at them and I'm like, God, this guy's probably going to make it to the top. I look over the Atlantic and I see some kind of prospect, high school this, national comp this. Yeah, I just watched you fucking put your head against someone's leg on the Contender Series for 3 rounds and get out damaged and lose. But DC says I'm wrong.
I don't know what he said.
That guy was spitting. I don't know who that guy was, but he had some great takes. Okay, I wish I could listen to him more often, but that's so true. That's so true. Time and time again, we are seeing USA wrestlers with a childhood in wrestling have their takedowns stuffed by some kickboxer, by some other guy, by some European guy who was into Muay Thai once when he was a kid or was into boxing and then transitioned into MMA. These guys didn't wrestle as kids, yet they're able to stuff and deal with the takedowns against Americans. Now, they may stand a chance against some guys from the Caucasus and they can make adjustments. Listen, I understand that stopping a takedown from happening is one thing and then out grappling someone is another thing. Like stopping it entirely is an easier thing. That's why strikers have an advantage. They have the cage to work with as well. That's a huge advantage for strikers. But I notice a trend, and that's my take. USA wrestlers, when I see a bit of credentials of, oh, this guy wrestled at this state or at this college or Division 1 here, Division 2 here, whatever it might be, 10 years of wrestling here, I don't trust it anymore. Yet when I hear about a guy from the Caucasus who has done some background in Greco-Roman or this, I don't even need to hear accolades. I'm worried. I'm worried that he's going to ragdoll one of these guys. You know? And I don't worry about USA wrestling like that. And I think it's drastically changed. And I think everyone who's been watching the sport recently has noticed it. And I think Bo Nickel versus Reina Dorida was the ultimate example of this. I'm not telling you that if Bo Nickel was from the Caucasus, he would, like, what am I trying to say? I'm not telling you that some guy from the Caucasus would destroy Reina Dorida. But what I am saying is this: Chimaev would have an easier time out grappling Reina Dorida than Bo Nickel would. And Cody Brundage than Bo Nickel did in their fight. And Jamie Pickett than Bo Nickel did, who he had to groin shot to even get the takedown on in the first place. And you heard it from Bo Nickel himself. He scoffs at how little experience Chimaev has in grappling and in wrestling. Oh, the guy's 12-1 in Swedish national wrestling, in freestyle wrestling in Sweden. Pfft, pretty cool, man. Well, Chimaev's the most dominant force, and you're not. So clearly there's a difference, but we're going to let it keep playing.
So, like, I think what he said exactly is that I don't care what your wrestling pedigree is in America. Like, if you have like NCAA, whatever it is,
it's better over there.
No, if you're going to get somebody.
No, DC. Stop trying to make me have a take that you can disagree with. Listen to the take, okay? Listen to DJ as he lectures you on why you're wrong on this topic, DC.
NCAA, whatever it is.
It's better over there.
No, if you're going to get somebody who has like a Sambo background or a wrestling background from, what was it, Caucasus? What do you say?
The Caucasus Mountains. That's where Khabib is in, Caucasus region.
Caucasus region, right? It don't mean that means more than an NCAA title.
I don't know about a direct comparison of it meaning more than an NCAA title, but DJ has the gist of my take at least. Okay, he has the gist of my take. If you have any kind of wrestling background from that region of the world, or honestly at this point from any other region of the world, nearly, but Northern America, you seem to do better in MMA with your grappling than you do if you are from the USA. These USA guys aren't getting to people's backs and choking them out like that. They really aren't. They used to. USA guys used to dominate the sport with their wrestling. When I used to see a UK guy going in there against a US fighter, I'd think, fucking hell, here we go again. Another UK fighter is going to get ragdolled by some grappler from the USA because he wrestled in high school. That's not the case anymore. And it kind of hasn't been the case since Leon stopped Usman's takedowns. Since the fall off, or maybe since Usman's bounce back, you can't say that, but since Usman Leon and then Covington's takedowns not working and then Bo Nickel never getting there in the first place, I think I'm correct. I'm not comparing some random guy over there to an NCAA title, but what I'm saying is it holds more value elsewhere if you say you're a grappler from here than if you say you're a grappler from the USA. It just does.
In mixed martial arts.
Wait. He said a combat sambo means more. Combat sambo.
Look it up real quick. She's gonna look.
I didn't say combat sambo.
It up.
It has to be combat sambo.
Well, I think
no, it's not DC. It's not DC. Stop trying to disagree with me. We can be friends. I like DC, man. I'm a big fan of DC. I think he got done dirty in his career, and I think he's underrated. We can be friends, man. You don't have to disagree with me, but he means combat sambo. He must combat sambo. No, I don't. Stop direct, because what he's going to do is he's going to say, well, combat sambo, they do submissions and striking. So, of course. But even if it's not submissions and striking, a combat sambo guy will have an easier time taking down an opponent in the cage. I mean, Merab Dvalishvili versus Henry Cejudo. How many more golden examples do you need? Gold medalist? What a golden example. I didn't even mean to say that. There's a golden example. Merab hoisting him up on his shoulder. Aljo can't take down O'Malley. Merab, whoop, up you get. Off he wanders around the cage with an opponent over his shoulder in a fireman's carry. But DC is going to make it sambo so he can say, oh, but they do jiu-jitsu and striking, so they're obviously better for MMA. That's not my point.
He just said he doesn't.
Because if it's combat sambo,
it's totally different.
Yes, because they strike, they do jiu-jitsu, they do all kinds of stuff.
That's why I was.
That's different.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is American wrestling does not translate.
Translate, yes.
Yes. Michael, and I know that voice, okay? That's Michael laying down the law in the background there. Like, no, DC. This is what Guri means, okay? That's Michael. Shout out to my boy Michael in the background, dude, laying down the law real quick.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is American wrestling does not translate.
Translate, yes.
The biggest thing is that American wrestling is not translating into MMA. Now, obviously it does a tad, but it's not effectively, okay? Where it's a force to be reckoned with in MMA, like other fight styles are, or like other regional training systems are. USA wrestling does not seem to translate effectively into MMA anymore. You've got to mix it up. And it didn't used to be the case, but now it's the case. The game has evolved past US wrestling. I believe so. But, we'll see what DC has to say about it.
It doesn't. I agree with them. Here's the reason why.
Tell me.
I agree with them because you think about it. When does somebody start wrestling? And I didn't start wrestling in America. I didn't start wrestling. Yeah.
Don't mind me and my friends just laughing, guys. Me and my friends, we're just laughing. You know what I mean? I've got so many friends. But let's take it away, DJ.
I didn't start wrestling until I was in 8th grade, right?
Like America, like where else did I live?
Yeah. I didn't start wrestling until 8th grade, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And all I did was spirit wrestling. When would you say somebody in Dagestan or Georgia start combat or just start combat sambo or sambo in general?
So they start wrestling and wrestling in all these sports around 5 years old.
5 years old, right?
They start going, they really identify what they're best at, is my understanding. So if you show more potential in Greco-Roman, they move you to just Greco-Roman. If you show more potential in freestyle, they move you there. Combat sambo, they'll move you. They move you into the places that they think you are more equipped for. Then
Wow, so he's explaining what they do over there that separates them from the US, is what is. Now, very important to mention as well, in the first video that I made on this that DC responded to, or that I responded back to DC with, DC's response to me saying that USA wrestling has fallen off in MMA was to say, no, it hasn't. Look at Makhachev, Topuria, and Merab. The comment on this video the top comment is literally saying that. Remember when Guru said there's no USA wrestling effectiveness in MMA anymore, and DC said he's wrong, and to prove that he's wrong, he listed 3 guys from the Caucasus to prove why he's wrong. DC's telling me that this take is wrong, and now he's listing why the Caucasus regime of grappling, and whether it be Greco-Roman or Sambo or wrestling, whatever it may be, as you just saw him list, they do a better job of specifying what people are best at what. That's not the only reason, in my opinion, but DC is like proving my point while disagreeing with me. Again, is he not allowed to agree with me? This is what I start to wonder sometimes when it comes to these guys that work for the UFC. I'm not sure. I like DC, though, so I'm not going to do any personal attacks, even though I did make a whole video about how he's fat. I do like DC. I think he's a good dude, but you're allowed to agree with me, right? Because you do.
You train that specifically
until
you get to whatever you're going to be.
Gotcha.
World champion, Olympic champion, whatever that desired peak is in the sport. But to say anything I don't think that's true, because we wrestle from a young age. I started at 10 years old.
Not 5. You just we wrestle from a young age. I wrestled at 10 years old. You just said the guys at the Caucasus are wrestling from 5. And they get specialized into what they show talent in. And before they even get to 10, they're locked in. You're going to be a world champ at this. You're going to be a world champ at that. And in the middle of that, he just said, and if you say anything, you're wrong.
The sport. But to say anything I don't think that's true, because.
But to say anything, I don't think that's true.
We wrestle from a young age. I started at 10 years old.
Damn.
And they start from 5. But it's still not my point. But he's still disproving made up points that I don't even have. DC's making up arguments and then defeating them. My thing with DC is always confusing to me, because he makes up my arguments and then he makes sure he loses the argument against it, and then goes, and that's why he's wrong. That's what DC does. Come on, DC, man. It's a good take. It's obvious. Where's the US wrestling guy in the UFC right now? Where's the US champ? One of them. The UK's got champs. Australia's got... Right now, it's the Caucus guys versus Australians, Europeans, and Brazilians. And we're all looking at the US like, you guys are going to fucking jump in? Yeah, that's what it is. It's the UK, Australia, and Brazil, and then the Caucus. That's the sport right now. And the US are sitting there like, no, we're not. We haven't fallen off. And it's that level of delusion. You're not going to evolve. You're not gonna chase back the ebb and flow of the sport. The rest of it's gotten better. Catch up. Stop coping and saying it's not true that we're worse while you have no champions right now. Honestly, either way.
I was a kid. I went to my first world championships at 15.
But I think if you take 100 wrestlers who've wrestled in America, and you take 100 people from Georgia, Dagestan, I think the numbers...
I can't agree with that, man.
Really?
Man, you didn't even hear what he was going to say yet. You didn't even hear... I know what he was suggesting that he was going to say there. But you didn't even hear his fucking point there, DC, and you were already ready to disagree.
Wrestlers who've wrestled in America, and you take 100 people from Georgia, Dagestan, I think the numbers...
I can't agree with that, man.
Really?
Man, you're going crazy. You let this dude convince you that?
You let this dude convince you that? Dude, DC's accusing me of brainwashing DJ with these takes. DJ, I'm not brainwashing you, okay? And I've had a lot of... Dude, why does everyone keep saying I'm brainwashing people? Bisping said this shit before. Nina Drama said it as well. And then some other guy on Twitter recently popped up saying I'm brainwashing people about John Jones. Dude, is it like a key word? I'm not brainwashing anyone. This is a correct take. If you took 100, let me put it to this, because DJ didn't get to finish his point before DC jumped in to correct him and say that he's wrong. But DJ was about to say, if you take 100 people from the USA and you take 100 people from the Caucus and put them against each other, the guys from the Caucus would win. I would say that's a very agreeable statement. If they all can grapple in their own field, I'd say on average, the guys from the Caucus can win because they're a much more niche. I mean, think about the population of them and how many successful guys they have compared to the USA. It's non-comparable. You are much likely to have a fucking gem picked out in the 100 of the Dagestani Caucus guys than you are from the 100 guys that are in the US and have a wrestling background. Absolutely true. But the way I would phrase that argument is, if you took 100 guys with wrestling backgrounds from the Caucus and 100 guys with wrestling or grappling backgrounds, Greco-Roman, Avilia Tapuria, any of these grappling backgrounds from the USA, and put them in martial arts, in mixed martial arts, the Caucus guys are going to succeed way more than the guys from the USA. No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. And you know what? I don't even think it's because of Sambo and how they mix in the striking as well. Now, you could say it is, but I think even if you remove that element, I think they just outdo these guys at just getting takedowns. Forget mixing it up in MMA as a sport. Let's take striking out of this. 100 guys from the Caucus with grappling backgrounds, 100 guys from the USA with grappling backgrounds. Put them in martial arts and tell them to only use grappling to win. You know the answer. Caucus guys are going to make it to the top because they got a better system. They've got a better system of grappling for real combat, for martial arts, for a mix of it all. They're better. Their grappling can better adjust to a whole wide range of styles than USA grappling can. USA grappling and USA wrestling seems to work on other people founded and rooted in USA wrestling. Once you take that away, we got guys on the Contender Series with a fucking state trophy in this, and they've been wrestling since they were 7 years old, and now they're 25, and they're going in there against a K1 kickboxer. Alex Pereira made it to a world championship. Like, do I need to go on? Do I need to go on here? And these guys on the Contender Series with all these accolades from school and high school and college and this, they'll go on the Contender Series and they'll lose to some Brazilian guy that did a bit of kickboxing when he turned 18. There's no doubt in my mind that's a correct statement from DJ if he were to be allowed to finish it.
You take 100 people from Georgia, Dagestan. I think the numbers...
I can't agree with that, man.
Really?
Man, you're going crazy. You let this dude convince you that? That is not true, dog. Man, you
I
tripping.
think it translates.
I'm not brainwashing him. You let him convince you that. I'm not convincing anyone of anything. This is true.
This dude convince you that? That is not true, dog. Man, you
I
tripping.
think it translates more because you think about the striking.
Tell me Combat Sambo.
Combat Sambo.
Okay.
Yes.
Now I agree.
Okay, yeah.
Because
Combat
they're
Sambo.
striking.
But if it's just wrestling versus wrestling, you can't. No.
You don't know that.
You don't know
you
that,
don't
yeah.
know who's gonna be.
DJ's meeting him in the middle here to keep the flow of conversation going because they're boys and he's not trying to be all combative and die on the hill of MMA Guru's take. I'll die on the hill of my take. Yes, it's correct. 100 grapplers from the Caucasus, 100 grapplers from the USA. The 100 grapplers from the Caucasus will be better. Are you noticing nothing that's going on in the current world of combat sports and martial arts? Are you noticing no trend? You're ignoring reality with that deep head of his. You know what I mean? That is I don't like taking fun of DC, but I just noticed it right now. That head has some depth. You know what I mean? I don't even think, listen, there's width, there's height. That's depth. You know what I mean? That's the third dimension right there of head that he's got, dude. That is far. But either way, I'm just going to, we'll keep it real. I like DC, but it's a correct take. I mean, it's nothing to do with Sambo and how they mix in the striking. Marab's carrying Cejudo over his fucking shoulder. You know what I mean?
Be more successful in the UFC.
But when it's Combat Sambo, when it's like, okay, I'm training leg locks at 8 years old.
Yes.
I'm going to be way better off than a guy who's just
in
training
MMA.
In MMA.
Except for the outliers. Except for the outliers, right? There are outliers.
What outliers, DC? What outliers are there right now in the sport, dude? Except for the outliers. Okay, we're still waiting for him. Okay, Sean Brady. Okay. He's not a champion. He's a top 5 contender. That's what you got. Cool. The outlier. Do you know that Olympian? Sean Brady in wrestling with all those USA. It's all good.
Outliers, like myself.
Yes.
Like you.
Yes.
Like Henry Cejudo.
Yes, that's what you had.
They're not here anymore. And Cejudo got fucking chucked out the cage down there by Marab. This guy's living in alternate dimensions to beat me in. Dude, I can't beat DC in a debate. But then there's outliers that disprove what you're saying, DJ. And think about you and me and Cejudo. None of them are around. Cejudo's around, but he's not there. You know? He isn't. He hasn't been able to effectively get a takedown on someone since how long? Probably since the DJ rematch. Okay? DJ a little bit smaller than him, and DJ held his own in that matchup in the grappling, despite not having the accolades that DJ had. This can happen within the USA. You know? This can happen within the USA, where DJ, who doesn't have the same level of accolades as Cejudo does in wrestling, can do his own in the grappling against Cejudo. You know? How's he listing outliers? I can't beat DC in the debate because he jumped into alternate dimensions to argue me. The first time I said, Caucasus guys are better than USA guys at wrestling. US wrestling isn't really effective anymore in current day MMA. And DC said, that's not true. What about Ilia Topuria, Marab, and Makhachev? Okay, so we're in an alternate dimension where I said that where you've disproved a completely incorrect thing that I didn't even say. And now it's there, and now we're living in the fucking past. Now DJ's fucking time, now DC, is time warping. Back in time to say, what about the outliers like me and you, DJ? And DJ's been retired for years. So have you. Sports moved on. Sports changed. And American wrestlers did not take your place. And Kalayev did. Pantoja did. You know? Like Henry Cejudo wasn't replaced by an American wrestler. He was carried over the shoulder like a baby by Marab, who ain't no Olympian in wrestling. Sorry, let's just say it how it is.
Have 100 of us.
Yes, there are outliers that will be better than that guy.
Yes, because I did fight Ali Bogatinov, who was a Sambo Combat world champion.
Underrated title defense, Lucas Tracy. Just saying. I listen, Lucas Tracy, underrated title defense.
And when I got in there, I just ate his ass up in the clinch.
Of course.
I beat him up in the, I think he took me down, I stood back up. I was able to take him away from that. But when you look at guys like...
You're talking about if we put 100 wrestlers, 100, and we just do the data, they'll probably have more success because they've been striking and grappling long.
Exactly, in mixed martial arts. So I can say, but if it goes for wrestling, I don't think that's a fair assessment, right?
It's not a fair assessment because when we do wrestling, they beat us.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose my mind at DC, chat. I'm going to lose my mind. I don't think energy has left my body in that way in so long. That was pure rage I just had. So you can't listen. This is with DC, you got to just be along for the fucking ride because we're in a fucking circus of a debate right now. Okay? And honestly, DC, I don't think this will be resolved until we're in person having a debate with each other about this. I'm gonna put that to you, DC. But listen to him. You can't compare wrestling on wrestling. They do beat us. So I'm right. Look at it back.
Mixed martial arts. So I can understand. But if it goes for wrestling, I don't think that's a fair assessment, right?
It's not a fair assessment because when we do wrestling, they beat us.
Yeah.
That's not a fair assessment because when we wrestle, they beat us. So Guru's right. So that's not a fair assessment because that would mean that I'm wrong. So that's not fair. Like, you can't do that. You can't argue like that. DC, you agree with me, man. So you're allowed to say openly on record, I agree with MMA Guru. Or aren't you? I don't know. But all good.
Yeah, historically they've been beating us.
Yeah.
Just reiterate my point.
But we've had a run recently where we were the best team in the world. So it's like it kind of goes and flows. When I was a kid,
goes and flows because you've had a run recently, but throughout the time they've been beating your ass. Let's just call it what it is. I know somewhat about US wrestling, and historically they do fucking ragdoll you guys. Let's just say it how it is. But you've had a bit of a run. So that disproves my whole point. None of which is applying to MMA, by the way. None of which is applying to MMA.
We were the best team in the world again because Kevin Jackson and Kenny Monday and John Smith and
all those UFC world champs. There's just so many of them. You know what I'm saying? And listen, it's not like these other guys aren't like all of their Olympians are actually chasing things in the UFC. You'll hear about some Dagestani guy who ragdolled 3 American guys for his fucking Olympic medals. He ain't done a day of MMA in his life. So it's not like, oh, that's because US wrestling, none of their guys are actually doing MMA. No, like we're getting Dagestani rejects and they're fucking ragdolling us. We're getting rejects. These aren't the Olympians. Khabib weren't no Olympian. Then goes into MMA. Neither Makhachev. We're getting the runts of the litter. The guys that couldn't make the Olympic team. And now they think, I guess MMA will do. I'll get into Sambo and start doing my MMA training. And then they become world champ. So that argument doesn't work either.
And Kendall Cross and Tom Brands, Terry Brands, we were the best in the world.
Yep.
Right? And then they started beating up on us all the way through the years I was wrestling. The Russians were the best.
Yep.
And then after that, when Jordan Burroughs and Kyle Dake and David Taylor, we were the best in the world again.
So it's always going like this.
It's going up and down. But right now, they're the best.
Okay, so so this is nothing to do with my take. We've turned the argument into a different realm where DC can win, and he's still lost because you just said at the end there that they're better than you right now. And that's my take. That's my warped take that you've shape-shifted into a take that you can defeat. You've literally fucking transformed my take into a take that you could perceivably defeat by not applying it to MMA whatsoever, like my main point of my fucking take. And then you transition it to just pure wrestling, and then you just said it here at the end.
Again.
So it's always going like this.
It's going up and down. Burroughs and Kyle Dake and David Taylor. We were the best in the world again.
So it's always going like this.
It's going up and down. But right now, they're the best.
All that yapping for nothing. Why are you disagreeing with me and shunning me out of this scene? I'm a good guy. Come on, man. We can be friends, DC. Honestly, I don't understand.
They're the best again.
Yep.
In Dagestan, people are the best.
Yeah.
Like it's
So I'm double correct, triple correct. Some would say. Just go and tell me how much more correct I am, DC.
It's a lot of wrestlers from that region.
Yeah.
So right now they're the best. But again,
now he'll talk about Dagestan. Remember all the stories about Habib ragdolling Rockhold? And Makhachev goes with Rockhold in the gym. The amount of times these guys have... Dude, let's just call it what it is. AKA got fucking replaced. AKA got replaced. Straight up. And they literally got... I don't want to use these terms because I don't want to get banned off YouTube or like demonetized or something. But they got nationally replaced, I guess you could say. When they brought these Russian guys into AKA, that was the gym.
Stupid haircut. A broccoli head now. Look up bigger now. I told you I can't cook with you. Reach me.